destruido y destruido y continúan haciéndolo hasta este tiempo. Bienvenidos a todos a este canal, La Verdad Inconveniente, de Inconvenient Truth. Ya sabes que lo hacemos en español y en inglés para que todos entendamos. If you have any questions, throw them out there. We're going to try to get to all the questions. Today we got some great topics. We got some great things coming in here. And, we're always looking to see what we're going to talk about. We keep seeing what's happening to our children in the detention centers. Who's going to speak about it? We are here in the ISUPK. I'm here with Oscar War. I'm here with Kasharwan and the young man Ephraim. We're here every Wednesday. We're going to speak about this. We're going to bring out real details. We're going to bring it out because this is what's important, to tell our people what's going on. Once again, we are the ISUPK. We are not affiliated with any other camp. We're here to bring out the truth, and that's what we're here for. Okay, so Ephraim, you had something?
It was a precept, sir.
Go ahead.
It's Genesis 3:1.
Genesis 3:1.
Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field.
Now the serpent is more subtle than any beast in the field. Let me tell you something. There's a serpent out there that's more subtle than anybody else. There's a beast out there that has found ways to destroy us, that has found ways to keep us under, that have found ways to take our property, take our life, take our natural resources, and even take the spirit that we once had and give us a false identity that today we're still with to this very day. Continue reading.
Which the Lord the Most High had made.
And let me tell you something. The Lord makes everybody and everything. Everything on this earth is made by the Lord. You know that story they told you in the Catholic Church and the Christian Church where they said, oh, well, Satan turned against the Lord and did this and that. That's not true. The Lord made everything. The Lord makes no mistakes. He did not make an entity that became an enemy to us. He made all of us, and he chose us. And the other people got jealous because the Lord took us as his chosen people. And today we find a war. Why? Or we find these people. Why? Because they know who we are. And they know that the Lord has chose us above every nation. And that's why we're in the trouble that we're in today. We refuse to follow the Lord, and now we're falling under the punishments that the Lord said would come on us because of this. Continue reading.
And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath the Most High said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden.
That's disobedience. When we decide to disobey the Lord, then that's when we're going to get repercussions from the Lord. You know what? We have kids. If your kid doesn't obey you, if your son doesn't obey you, what are you going to do? You're going to punish your son. Because you know what? That's the right thing to do. The problem with, if you've seen on a lot of media, social media, you see these kids, these white kids that are going crazy on the mom, slapping her and hitting her, these white kids. You know what? I could never hit my mom or my dad. Man, my dad would whoop me silly. He had a special belt that he'd pull out. My mom, man, she'll hit you with whatever she can find. Any disrespect in our family was not tolerated and met with straight discipline, which is a good ass whooping. Continue reading. Okay. You had something to say?
Oh, nah. Just that goes off of what we were talking about, about the white man, how every black and Hispanic, how they want their kids to grow up with the rich people, the rich white people,
right?
Because they think that they don't do nothing wrong,
right?
They think that they're, because they're in a tie and a suit, that they're, they're good people. They're not violent. They're not, evil.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. That's the thing. That's the thing about Israel, blacks and Hispanics and Native American Indians. We want to go out there and we want to live amongst a race that has done nothing but hate us and destroy us. We think that by going out there and living with them, we're going to live better. But let me tell you something. The outcome of going and living with the race that's not your own is that you become like them. A perfect example is Mayweather. Mayweather has moved out of his neighborhood and moved into the rich man's neighborhood. And now he sees, he doesn't see himself supporting any blacks with the movements that they're doing. And you know why? Because he doesn't feel that he's part of those people anymore.
Right.
And there's a lot of Hispanic people that do the same thing. There's a lot of us that see these people and we're like, well, you know what? You're in the spotlight. You can make a difference.
Right.
But they don't care about black, Hispanics, or Native American Indians. It's better to be here. It's better to be amongst your own people. Yeah, we gangbangers, we're hood, we're whatever you want to call us, man. You can go through a whole list of names of what they used to call you on the street. But you know what? Let me tell you something. It's better to be like that and humble yourself and be a man than to be like these people and turn your back on your own brothers and sisters. You know, one of the problems that we got to understand is that when we begin to associate ourselves and cling to our enemy, then we also become an enemy to our own people. You know, because you cannot, what it said, you cannot be both. You know, you cannot be them and be yourself, because they will turn you. They will make sure that you turn against your own people. When they tell you you're going to become a supervisor or a manager, the first thing you got to understand is you cannot give love to your people. You know what I'm saying? You know, you're not going to hire your own people. At least you're not going to give them those positions that they should have. You know, you're going to try to cut them as low as they can go, because that's the way that we treat our people when we begin to associate with our enemies. And when we say enemies, we're talking about those people that hate us. You had a precept on that? Go ahead.
This is Luke chapter 16, verse 13. No servant can serve two masters.
No servant can serve two masters. You're either going to serve the Lord and bring your people to recognize who they are, or you're going to go into the world and serve this man that has been robbing, raping, and murdering and destroying your people for over 500 years. Continue reading.
For either he will hate the one and love the other.
So you either going to hate one and love the other, or you're going to love just one. So you can't have both. You can't have everything. You're either going to have one or you're going to have the other. That's what we got to understand here. So we have to understand that we got to take a side. You know, there's a side. You got to take a side. What side are you going to take? It's time to take the right side. And that is time to wake up your brothers and sisters to the truth. Because the Lord is coming back and he's going to look at you and he wants to see what kind of work you did when it came to waking up your brothers and sisters. You got any more on that?
Finish it off.
Finish it off.
Or else he will hold to the one.
You see, or you will hold to the one. And that's what we see today with all these movie stars and all these people out there on the spotlight, is that they've held on to one. They've held on to the enemy. They choose to stay on with them, man. They're not going to help blacks and Hispanics or Native American Indians to wake up. Even those pastors won't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Go ahead, Oscar Ward.
Got a precept, sir?
Go ahead.
Matthew 10:38. And he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me.
So see, he who doesn't take the cross and follow the Lord, man, is not worthy of the Lord. So let me tell you something. Mayweather, all those other movie stars, they're not worthy of the Lord. And the day that comes up, the Lord's going to look at them and he's going to say, man, away from me, I never knew you. And you know what? They may take it as a joke, but as we can see the world brewing up into a massive situation of war against America, you know what? We understand that the time is close. You know what I'm saying? There's a time coming now where we're going to understand how important it is to find refuge with the Most High and find refuge with your brothers, because you know what, the time is coming real soon where you're going to understand that, you know what, salvation is important. What is salvation? To save yourself from the destruction that's about to happen on this earth. Go ahead, Oscar Ward.
All right, I got another precept, sir.
Go ahead.
Exodus 20:3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
And the Lord says that we won't have any other gods before him. So what are we doing worshiping Hollywood movie stars? Right. What are we doing worshiping, these idols? Because that's what they are. They've become idols to us. They've become idols to our children. You know what I'm saying? They've become idols to everybody. You know, now they look at Mel Gibson. Oh, wow, Mel Gibson made a movie about Mexicans. You know, this is false. You know, lies being told to us. Oh, you know, Mayweather, the greatest boxer, I want to be like him. If he's going to wear Gucci, well, so am I. You know, they become our idols. They become the people that we want to look up to, and would rather put to the side the Bible and follow these people than to follow the Lord and do this work. Continue reading.
It's like the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 4. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image.
Right. And you know what? Those graven images, we know what those graven images, what they're talking about. Those graven images, if you're Mexican, every time you go to your mom's house and you walk in there and you see the statues, you know, the rosary, you know what I'm saying, the candles, the pictures, you know what I'm saying. Every time you go to your mama's house and you see that, that's exactly what we're talking about when it says idols. You know what I mean? We're talking about all those things that Hispanic people are so prevalent. It's so prevalent in their homes, even in their cars. You know, you're going into your mom's car and she's got the little saints there. She's got, you know, the prayers for the driver. All these things that you see in their cars. You know what I mean? Like, Mexicans are so into worshiping idols that it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like no one does it like Mexicans do it. Like Mexicans, all the Latin American people, not Mexicans, but all Latin American people are so into worshiping idols that it's become the norm for us. Like, if you go into somebody's car and you see a little idol there and you try to comment on it, they'll be like, oh no, brother, you know, you should have more respect, you know. But that's disrespecting the Lord. Right. When you have things like that in your vehicle. Go ahead.
And I was going to say, sir, how you say that, you know, us Latinos, we go so hard on, you know what I'm saying, worshiping other, you know, idols and also worshiping holidays, you know what I'm saying, because you have the Mexican, you know, Father's Holiday, and then you have the American, you know, Father's Holiday, and the same thing for the mothers,
right?
You know, New Year's,
right?
And, you know, Christmas and all that.
Garbage. Right. Oscar Ward, you got one?
I got a precept on why our people are like that today.
Go ahead.
Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
And our people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And that's why we're here. We're here to regain that knowledge, to bring you back to the understanding of where you come from, who you are, your heritage, blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. You know, our people lack knowledge. Your grandma lacks knowledge. Your father lacks knowledge. Your mother lacks knowledge. I'm going to go into something very simple. And this for the Hispanic people, because, you know, our Hispanic people are so tied with these worshiping idols. And you know, the Virgin Mary has to be the most powerful idol in Mexico, in all of Latin America. Right. Like, to talk about the Virgin Mary is like talking about somebody's mom. Right. That's how bad it is. Like, the minute you say about the Virgin Mary, you got the mom, the aunt, the grandma, you got the whole family on you. You know, they're coming at you hard because you do not talk about the Virgin Mary, the sacred mother of God, the Virgin Mary, you know, La Madre de Dios, we call her. You know, everybody knows. They don't even call her Jesus mother. Right. They don't say, oh, Jesus mother. They say the mother of God, La Madre de Dios. Go ahead.
Slagi, that goes into the precept that the brother brought out, Hosea 4:6. You know, they're destroyed for the lack of knowledge.
Destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Like Mexican moms, they never say, like, the Virgin Mary is the mother of Jesus Christ. They never say that. They'll tell you off the bat, the mother of God. You know, I didn't know God had a mother.
Right. So, like, if I could, that's because the Catholic Church teaches that Jesus is God and God is Jesus.
Exactly. They teach you that Jesus is God and God is Jesus. Like, I don't know how they do that, but you know, Raul Morel, yeah, because Jesus God is white to them. Exactly. You know, but you know how confusing it is. Like, so I've confronted my mother on the whole topic of the Virgin Mary, because, you know, sometimes you have to break it down to them, because, you know, who doesn't want to save their moms? You know, who doesn't want to save their brothers and their sisters? Who doesn't want to hope that, you know, you're in this truth and you want your family to be saved? You know what I'm saying? All of us want our families to be. We want our brothers to be saved, and we want our families to be saved. We would not want to see our brothers and sisters die, you know, or perish. We know what's coming. And since we have that knowledge of what's coming, we will try everything to convince our families that, hey, you know what, you got to come to this side. You got to let go and decolonize your mind from the lies that have been given to us by the Spaniard. So to break down the Virgin Mary, it's a very simple process. We know who drew the picture of Caesar Borgia and how he's Jesus Christ. You know, the man they call Jesus Christ. We know Caesar Borgia is drawn by Michelangelo.
Right.
You know, or somebody like that, a famous painter. He drew this picture. So, but who drew the picture of the Virgin Mary? You know, who did this picture? Who made the image of the Virgin Mary? Because in Mexico, there's a tale that some Indian miraculously it appeared on his sarape, on his coat, you know, on his garment, that it miraculously appeared there, you know, that the Virgin Mary talked to him and said, hey, you know, bro, you're the guy I'm going to talk to. Booyah, and now you got this painting, and now you're going to go out there and do this. His name is Juan Diego. Juan Diego is the man or the Indian accredited for presenting for the first time the image of the Virgin Mary. Go ahead and bring out Juan Diego, and we'll tell the story. Juan Diego is the image that's given to all of the indigenous people of Mexico in order to convert them into becoming Catholics or Christians in that time. So how do we break down this story? How do we decipher this story? How does it become you know, the truth once again? How do we make it truth, you know? So what we do is we look into history. That's what ISUPK is here for. We're going to break down history. We're going to show you how we uncover the lies and how we bring out truth. To begin with, that picture of the Virgin Mary, her real name is Guadalupe. So, you know, if you're Hispanic, you understand La Virgen de Guadalupe, you know, the Virgin of Guadalupe. So Guadalupe is a place in Spain. It's a river. It's called the River of Guadalupe. It's where one of the first Catholic, well, not one of the first, but one of the most prevalent Catholic churches was at. And this church held the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe, which is probably some woman, you know, that the Spaniards had, and they saw her and they're like, okay, this is our queen, you know. But it has nothing to do with Jesus Christ and nothing to do with the Bible. The Virgin of Guadalupe does not exist in the Bible. So Guadalupe is this virgin, is this woman or image that comes from this region in Spain by the River of Guadalupe, or the region of Guadalupe, and it's brought to us by Hernan Cortez and Christopher Columbus. They bring this image to Mexico. And just to let you know that these people all came from the same region. Hernan Cortez, Christopher Columbus, Diego Duran, every single person that came to conquer America, they all came from the same region. They didn't all come from different places of Spain. They all came from the same place. The place is called it slipped my mind.
Spain?
No, it's not Guadalupe, Spain. It starts with an M.
The one you brought out?
Yeah, it'll come back to me. So they all come from the same region. All these conquerors came from the same region. This region just so happened to be one of the poorest regions in Spain. You got it?
So like I said, I have a precept on the image.
Okay, go ahead on the image.
This is the Wisdom of Solomon 15:4. For neither did the mischievous invention of man deceive us.
Right. Read it again.
For neither did the mischievous invention of man deceive us.
So we shouldn't be deceived by the mischievousness of man. These men are the Spaniards. These people came with these mischievous things to try to confuse us. All the people that came to conquer America came from this place called Extremadura. Extremadura, Spain. This place was known to be the poorest region in Spain. Where did the pig come from? It came from Extremadura. If you look today, the #1 export for Extremadura is pork. They grow pigs there. They've always done pig there. The pig was brought to Mexico by the Spaniard and given to us. You know why they bring the pig from Spain? Because the pig was the only animal that could make the trip across the ocean in a year and a half. Every other animal would die on the way out there, but the pig would survive the whole trip. Especially when people would die and they feed people to the pigs. And pig will eat anything. It'll eat the bone, it'll eat the teeth, it'll eat the whole human. And that's why they would bring pig, because it was the only animal that could survive the whole trip. And Extremadura was known to bring pig. Pedro de Gomorra says that they would eat puerco salado, which is salted pig. It was a delicacy for the Spaniard to eat salted pig. And so when they came over here, they would eat the pig and they bring it to the Americas, and they taught us how to eat pig. So our people never ate pig. That's why we became sick. That's why we died in numbers, because we started to eat these animals that were not part of our diet. Right. They were what is it called? An abomination to us, and yet the Spaniards bring it and destroyed us with us. So Extremadura is the place of all the Spaniards who came to conquer America. The river of Guadalupe is there in Spain too, and that's where this image of the Virgin Mary is coming from. That's why the Lord tells us, what is that? Read that precept again.
For neither did the mischievous invention of man deceive us.
So we shouldn't be deceived by the mischievous inventions that they bring over to our countries. Continue reading.
Nor an image spotted with diverse colors.
And neither an image spotted with diverse colors. Let me tell you something. The Bible is right on point. When you look at that image of the Virgin Mary, it's a colorful image of a woman dressed in all types of colors, in gold and yellow and blue, and there's many colors on this image of the Virgin Mary. How do I know? My mom has her all over her house. I see it all the time. So when you see this image, that precept, what is it?
Wisdom of Solomon 15 verse 4.
Wisdom of Solomon 15 verse 4. And what does it say about that image?
It's from the top, sir?
They're from the top.
For neither did the mischievous invention of man deceive us, nor an image spotted with diverse colors.
Let me show you the image spotted with diverse colors. Let me turn this around real quick. If you got that, Sharon. See that? That's the Virgin Mary right there. An image spotted in diverse colors. Just the way it says in the, what is that? Wisdom of Solomon?
Wisdom of Solomon.
Wisdom of Solomon. And so this image is coming from Spain. And the person who drew this was a famous Spaniard painter also. Oh, you got that one? Let me see that one again. Let me see that image. I got a better image right here for all my people watching this one. Let me see it.
One second.
Let me give us a second here while we bring out this image right here. There it is. It's okay, you can get it right here. Look. You see that? That's the image of the Virgin Mary right there. Funny, what does it say? Spotted? And isn't that spotted? Isn't her coat spotted right there? You see that? And what does it say? Diverse colors?
Diverse colors, sir.
And look at the diverse colors on that image. And this is from the Bible. This is from the Wisdom of Solomon. This is a image that was made by the Spaniard. And it seems like what they did was taken right out of the Bible. Just the way the Bible says, that's exactly how they painted that image. But you know what? The Lord knows. He knew they were going to do that. The Lord has wisdom. He knows the beginning to the end. And He made sure to write it so that we wouldn't get it, we wouldn't be confused, and we could decipher these things in our time, in the appointed time. And this here is the appointed time.
Right.
Oscar Ward, go ahead.
Well, I had a precept on the swine, how it's unlawful for us to eat it.
Go ahead.
Leviticus chapter 11, verse 4 and verse 7. Verse 4. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof.
You see, the Lord tells us that we should not be eating this swine because it's a divided hoof. But we all know that. We know that we're not supposed to be eating this swine. But the Spaniard is not the Lord's people. And that's why to him it did not matter. But to us, it does matter. Continue reading.
Verse 7. And the swine, though he divide the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Of their flesh shall ye not eat.
Right. So see, the Lord tells us we shouldn't even be eating of that flesh or that swine. You know what I mean? And that's why it's important for us to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments.
Right.
It's Marcos Ipak. So once again, we're going back into the Virgin Mary and where that comes from, right? And so we know that it's coming from Guadalupe, Spain. where the Spaniard who conquered us came from that region. The reason we eat pig is because those same people who came here came from that region. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so who drew? So where does the image of the Virgin Mary comes from? When you go into your mama's house and you see that image, where does it come from? So let me tell you, I had mentioned how if you knew that someone painted the image of Jesus Christ and used what's his name, Caesar Borgia to make that image, the same way we have a painter who drew the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe and then gave it to our Hispanic people. And from that point, they've said that has been who it is. And the person who painted that, his name is Marcos CHAAZAQ. Marcos de CHAAZAQ Aquino. He was a famous Spaniard painter. He was a Catholic, a priest who was also an artist. And he painted this image. And he had it brought to Mexico. Well, he didn't have it brought to Mexico, but let me bring it out here. There you go. They bring it out to Mexico, and they presented it to the Native Mexican Indian as the image of the Virgin Mary. Go ahead.
I got more on that too, sir.
Go ahead.
The painter's fruitless labor. Verse 5.
The painter's fruitless labor. So see that? Marcos CHAAZAQ and who else? Who did I say painted the? Who did I say painted the Jesus Christ? Michelangelo. Marcos CHAAZAQ, and go ahead, read that again.
Da Vinci.
And Da Vinci, exactly. Leonardo da Vinci. That's what I was thinking about. Okay, go ahead.
The painter's fruitless labor.
The painter's fruitless labor. These are the painters, the Spaniard painters who made these images and then presented them to our people as if that's who our Lord were, who our God is, who Christ is, who Jesus is. But in reality, these are lies that have been brought to us. So this image that you see of the Virgin Mary is painted by a famous Spaniard priest, a Catholic priest named Marcos CHAAZAQ de Aquino. And for those of you who want to know, let me see. Well, we'll type it up in the box right now, for you can look it up, and you can look it up yourself. Type in this and see the history of this man, Marcos CHAAZAQ de Aquino. So if you think the Virgin Mary is a miraculous image who appeared to our people because of a miracle, your mom thinks that, your grandma thinks that, your aunt thinks that, the truth is that we're gonna rediscover history, and we're gonna show you how that's all a lie. And if you look from Marcos CHAAZAQ de Aquino, you'll understand just the way we understand now who made the image of Jesus Christ. Now we understand who made the image of this so-called Virgin Mary. And I'm going to go into who that really is in a minute. But you had one?
I was going to continue on the wisdom.
Go ahead.
This is verse 5. The sight whereof enticed fools to lust after it.
See, that enticed fools to lust after it. Unfortunately, every Hispanic mom and dad and aunt and grandma, and even some of us were there. We become fools to these images. We became slaves to these images of the Virgin Mary, of the white Jesus, San Martín de Porres, name me another one.
Santa Muerte.
La Santa Muerte. What's that?
Malverde.
Jesus Malverde, for all the big time drug dealers. Jesus Malverde, from Sinaloa. These people, we become fools for these images. Our people have become fools and left their heritage, left the true nature of themselves, and have gone after false idols. Go ahead. You got more on that? Continue.
And so they desire the form of the dead image.
And we desire the form of a dead image. You know why it's a dead image? Because those images do nothing for us. This painter by the name of Marcos CHAAZAQ painted this image of the Virgin Mary and said this is the mother of God, not the mother of Jesus, the mother of God. And it's a dead image that our aunts, our grandmas, our grandfathers, our mothers have followed throughout every single decade and have passed it on to us. And we've believed that this is that image. of Jesus Christ, of the Virgin Mary. Marcos CHAAZAQ de Aquino, Felipe Mejia, the water for that. Felipe Mejia's got that on there. Marcos CHAAZAQ de Aquino. This is the name you want to follow and understand who this image really is, and understand who painted this image and how it got to Mexico, and how your aunt, your grandma, and everybody is worshiping false images that do what?
CHAAZAQ.
Entice fools to lust after it.
They entice fools to lust after it. And you know what I said? That if you talk about the Virgin Mary, it's like you're talking about my mom.
Right.
If you say something about the Virgin Mary, oh man, it's on and cracking. Man, that's disrespectful. You will be taken off, the inheritance from your family for talking about the Virgin Mary. It's on and cracking. You talk about the Virgin Mary, olvídate, your family's going to disown you. Because why? Because you're talking about the Mother of God. Not even the Mother of Jesus Christ, but the Mother of God. And it's enticed us. And we become angry because you're talking about this image. You know, most of us who go and assist on the Saturdays at camp, people come and see that image of Jesus Christ, and oh man, it's like a war zone out there. Oh, you can't step. Oh, why are you stepping on Jesus? You know, they get offended because of this Jesus. Let me tell you something. You want to start a war? Put a picture of the Virgin Mary out there and step on her, and you'll see the reaction of Hispanics when that happens. That's like an all-out war against Hispanic. Oscar War, you had something? Well, first of all, do you have any more on that?
Go
ahead.
This is just the last bit, sir.
And so they desire the form of a dead image that had no breath.
See, they desire the form of dead images that have no breath. Man, they have that statue. My mom has a statue of La Virgen Maria in her room. It has no breath, man. It has no life. It has no spirit. She has a Jesus in another room. She has San Martin de Porres in another room. You know what? Those images have no breath. They have no life. But yet she'll set candles for them all the time. She'll set flowers for them all the time. She worships them as if something is going to help her with that. But you know what? You have the image of that in your car, you're still going to crash. You know what I'm saying? You're still going to get a ticket. You're still going to crash. You're still going to get your car broken into. They are helpless images that do nothing for you. Go ahead.
It's like I was going to bring it out earlier that's why there's so much going on in Central and South America.
Right.
You know, because the Lord ain't with them. Because what? Because
absolutely.
It's like Ashkur, what you read off of Exodus, those were the 10 Commandments, right? See, so the Most High told us in the 10 Commandments not to make any graven image. And what do? And that's the reason why we're destroyed, man, in Central and South America, man.
That's right. Go ahead, Oscar.
I have a precept for what you were saying, sir.
Go ahead.
The book of Psalms, chapter 135, verse 15 through 18. The idols of the heathen are silver and gold.
The idols of the heathens are silver and gold. Stephanie Diaz, you know when you go to that church, man, that church is tainted with all kinds of gold this, gold that. You know, you go down to buy yourself a cross, it's going to be a gold cross.
Right.
You know, a silver cross. When you go out and buy that little chain, you're going to make sure that's a gold chain. You know, you're all looking, see, make sure it says 14 karat gold, 24 karat gold. And then you're mad because, oh no, this is a fake gold chain, you know. Our images are of silver and gold. The Catholic Church is famous. They stole the gold. Cortez, all the gold he stole from Mexico is now in the Sixtine Chapel. It's a story that the Sixtine Chapel is made of all the stolen gold that was brought from Mexico and Central and South America. Inca gold, Mayan gold, and Aztec gold was taken back to Europe, and they built these churches that are there in Mexico today. So no matter where you're from, you know. And then in Mexico there was a time it was called el tiempo de los what is santeros? No.
Cristeros?
Los Cristeros, the water. Los Cristeros. The time of the Cristeros was a time in the history of Mexico where the Catholic Church was forcing all the donations going to the church, or the tip, or that little bucket that comes around. All those riches were going straight back to Mexico, straight back to Catholic Church. not only in Mexico, but all across Latin America. No matter what church it was, the priests there were forced to send all the riches back to Spain, back to the church. How do you think the Catholic Church became so rich? It became rich because of us. Because you know you know why the liquor store at the corner is rich? That Arab's liquor store? Because of us. You know why the nail shop is rich? Because of us. You know why all these movie theaters and everything is rich? Because of us. Nike's rich because of blacks and Hispanics and Native American Indians.
Right.
McDonald's is rich because of black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. That's why these corporations are rich, because of us. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Doritos, all these companies are rich because of us. You know, I was seeing the other day that they had these things, the hot Cheetos. They're saying that children shouldn't eat these hot Cheetos because it's damaging their intestine system. But they also said that the majority of people buying these were blacks and Hispanics.
Right.
That we're the ones buying these products. We're the ones making these corporations rich. The same way, that's the way the Catholic Church became rich. At some time in Mexico and all of Central America and South America, we were going to church religiously. And you know what? They were taking our money and making the Catholic Church super rich. Their churches became multi-million-dollar churches that today stand. The Roman Catholic is an empire. The Roman Catholic Church is an empire. The Roman, where's the
Vatican?
The Vatican is its own city with its own police department, with its own politics. They're a rich church. They can get all their priests that are raping children off the hook.
Right.
Who else can do that? Who else can they say, you know what, your priests are doing this, they'll go to jail. But the Catholic Church, they see no jail time.
Right.
If you're with the Catholic Church, if you're a Jesuit priest, if you're any kind of priest, you know what? You're off the hook. Because why? That's how powerful they've become with us, with the blacks and the Hispanics. We're the ones who made those places rich. And how they do it? They extorted us. Just the way Kabad Amat is saying. They extorted us. They robbed us. They took everything from us. They did it forcefully, and they did it through religion. And that's the key here, to once again decolonize your mind and let go of that destroyed us in the past, and recognize that we are a people who are not tied to this organization, not tied to this culture. We are our own selves, Israelites that are written in the Bible. Go ahead.
Oh, Salaki. Oh, Khan. I'm gonna bring out Juan Diego, right?
Okay, so let me go back in. So we're touching on the fact that, you know, how they extorted us, you know, and how they took everything from us, and where the picture of Juan Diego came from. How did Juan Diego, this Indian, how it appeared on his suit miraculously, and how that image is a fake. It's not a miracle that image appeared. Today, even your mom thinks it's a miracle, but it's not a miracle. A man by the name of Marcos Ipac, who our brother just put up on the board, you know, the Aquino, this man painted this image. And here at the ISUPK, we're letting you know that that's a false image, and that it was never a miracle, and that the Spaniards drew this image and took us for it, and took not only our money, but took our common sense and lied to us. And now we're caught in this whole lie for decades, and now we're breaking it down. So go ahead and read. So we'll find out who. Let's find out who Juan Diego was, because this is the man in note here. Juan Diego was the one who made the Virgin Mary famous. If not for this man, the Virgin Mary would have never have made it to Mexico. But they used this Indian man to make sure that all the Indians believed him and followed his guide. You know what? Once again, they'll use one of us, and then they'll bring all of us in. Right. They'll use one person and use that person to bring everybody in. If you're wondering, well, you know what, there is rich black people, those are the ones bringing us into destruction. So go ahead and read Juan Diego.
Khan, this is off of Britannica.com. Saint Juan Diego, original name, it's like, what's it? Cahuatzo. It's like Cahuatzuatzin. It's like you. Indigenous Mexican convert to Roman Catholicism and saint who, according to tradition, was visited by the Virgin Mary.
So this man, according to this tradition, this is Juan Diego, according to tradition, was visited by this Virgin Mary, the mother of God. Not Jesus' mom, but the mother of God. So according to indigenous tradition, the traditions of the Aztecs, of the Nahuatl people, the Virgin Mary, miraculously, a white woman appeared to a Native American Indian. Now you know that Indian was like, oh hell yeah, white women. Okay, continue reading.
Little is known of the early life of Juan Diego.
So there's no recollection of who Juan Diego was, you know, but if you go into Mexican history, you understand that this was an educated Indian man. He was not just anybody. He was actually a somebody. He was an educated man, and a lot of indigenous people knew who Juan Diego was. Continue reading.
Whose original name was Kawalautatzin, the talking eagle.
So his name, he was known as the talking eagle. Kawalautatzin. He was the talking eagle. He even had a name in Nahuatl. That name, Kawalautatzin, is Nahuatl. Right. It's the native Indian, native language to all Hispanic people. This is the language we used to speak, which is known as Nahuatl. And his name was the talking eagle. Hey, to have a name like Eagle, you have to be a somebody. You didn't just get that name. Continue reading.
Although he described himself as poor, he may have meant poor in spirit. It has been suggested that he was an Aztec prince.
See, he was an Aztec prince. That's what you read in the history of this man. You understand that he was a somebody. He wasn't just anybody. The Spaniards did not choose this man just for any reason. They didn't just walk one day, meet him, and be like, okay, we'll just use this guy. No way. They chose him because he was an important figure in the Nahuatl Aztec people. He was a somebody. He was a prince. He was a king. He came from lineage of people. Continue reading.
So I think the brother got a precept.
Go ahead.
You got Isaiah 65 and 15?
Come on, sir. The book of Isaiah, chapter 65 and verse 15. And ye shall leave your name for a curse unto my people.
That's right. So what happened to talking eagle?
So like I read it wrong. So
oh, well, let me get that one. So Kawalautatzin, his real name, he left his name, and now he has a curse. Now his name is Juan Diego.
Right.
You know, now his name was changed and given a Spaniard name, and that's a curse to him now, because now he's even left his people and he left his original heritage, and now he's being cursed with the name of his enemies. Continue reading.
And ye shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen, for the Lord God shall slay thee, and call his servants by another name.
And so now we're all called by another name. Every single Mexican, Liz, Stephanie, Robado Diaz, you know, unfortunately the name that you carry, just like my original name, is a curse to us.
Right.
You know, that's not our original names. We had other names. We had names of kings. We had names of princesses. You know, we had meaningful names. Today my name is CHAAZAQ, which means strong hands. It's a meaningful name. A name given to me because I have a service to provide. I have a character, and that name is given to me based on my character. My original name, my name of the world, it had no meaning. It was the name of some uncle of mine, who knows what kind of uncle he was, right? God damn, he must have been, you know, he could have been a thief, a child molester. I don't know what the hell he could have been. But unfortunately, they gave me that name thinking they were blessing me with that name. But in reality, I wasn't blessed with that name. A true blessing is to come back to your heritage, you know, get yourself a name, have somebody give you a real name with real meaning, you know, that you can understand that you are a somebody, and take pride in the name that you have. Go ahead. Somebody had one?
Oh, Slag.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna add to that if I could. Read it again, I score.
Isaiah 65 and 15. And ye shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen.
Go ahead.
For the Lord God shall slay thee, and call his servants by another name.
Call who?
His servants.
We right here in the ISUPK, we're his servants.
That's right.
And he's gonna do what?
Call his servants by another name.
By another name, man. We're not going to be called what we left our name for. You know, we're no longer going to be known as the curse. We're not going to carry that name on no more. You understand? He's going to call his servants by another name, which is Yasharallah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's the prince of the power.
Right.
It's like that's it on that one.
Right. So we got to understand that the Bible is telling us, you know, all Hispanics and blacks, we've been changed. Our names have been taken from us. And they've been given the names of our oppressors. And now it's time to come back, not only to the knowledge of who we are, but to let go of these images that have been placed for us, these Spaniard lies. Even our names are lies today. So we got to come back to who we are. So you got any more on Juan Diego?
I mean, there's a lot more, but that
okay, so
I just finished reading this.
Okay, go ahead.
Salaki. He was 50 years old. He and his wife were among the first indigenous people to accept baptism and convert to Christianity after its introduction to Mexico by Spanish conquistadors and missionaries.
So let me tell you something. Today you say you're going to go get baptized, right? The original way to get baptized, like Christopher Columbus baptized all the Indians that he stole from the island of Puerto Rico, or what was that? The Taino Indians. When he took them back to Spain, and this is in his own book, The Conquest of New Spain, where he says he baptized those Indians and he gave them new names. The names he gave them was Christopher and Columbus. All those Indians were Cristobal, and Colombo. So what he did was give him their names. This was the beginning of when the natives in Latin America began to get introduced to baptism. And it wasn't that baptism that you see in the Bible where John the Baptist dipped people into water. No way, man. The baptism that the Spaniard was using was very simple. To take away your name and give you a Spaniard name. That was the Spaniard way. When this man converted into Christianity, his name was something, and then he became Juan Diego.
Right.
That's what he became. His new name was Juan Diego. And when they got him, he was a prince or a king, and they used him to bring other Native American, Native Mexican Indians or Aztec Indians to turn into Catholics or Christians. And they did that. But let me tell you something. Juan Diego didn't only worship the Virgin Mary afterwards. See, before that, there's this place called Tepeyac, and this is the mount where this virgin appeared to this man named Juan Diego. This image, so that we know is brought from Spain.
Go ahead. Read that part.
Go ahead and read it.
According to tradition,
huh?
Juan Diego. So like that's true. It says that, huh?
Yeah, Juan Diego. Yeah,
that's what they say.
That's what they're saying. This is a tradition. This is not true. Go ahead.
According to tradition, Juan Diego experienced his first vision of the Virgin Mary on December 9th, 1531, while on his way to Mass.
So he's going to Mass. December 9th is a very important day in Mexico. Es el Día de la Virgen de Guadalupe. Even today, we still celebrate that. El 12 de diciembre.
Yeah, right.
The 12th of December is the day, but it's not only one day. It's a whole week that they celebrated. So it starts December 9th and it goes all the way down to the 12th. This is a day in Mexico that all mothers celebrate El Día de la Virgen de Guadalupe, God's mom, right? So they seen this and they celebrate this day, and Juan Diego just so happened to be walking merrily to Mass, right? I didn't even know they had Mass back then.
Right.
But he's walking to Mass, and all of a sudden, this white woman come out of nowhere and appears to him, you know, in a long dress and her hair all nice, and you know what I'm saying? White woman. So continue reading.
He was visited by Mary.
By Mary. Go ahead.
Who was surrounded in heavenly light.
So she's surrounded in heavenly light, man. She's like a splendor out there, like out in the middle of the woods. She's like, bah, you know what I'm saying? Continue reading.
On Tepeyac Hill.
On Tepeyac Hill. This mount known as Tepeyac today, if you go there, there's the largest church in Mexico known as la Catedral de la Virgen de María, and it's right there in the city of Tepeyac, which is Mexico City. Oh, we'll go on. Continue reading.
on the outskirts of what is now Mexico City.
So it's Mexico City. So that's where it's at. So no, go ahead now and bring out Tonantzin. So this place that where she appeared, known as the Mount of Tepeyac, which is outside of Mexico City. This whole thing happens to him. This Indian, supposedly they're saying that he was a nobody, but we understand that in reality he was a king. Why did the Spaniards choose a king? Because they knew if they chose a king to say that he's seen this miracle, then all other Indian people would believe it. This is the way they conjured up, or what is that? Crafty console.
Okay.
This is the way they did the crafty console. Go ahead.
Precept, sir?
Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 36. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods.
So listen to this. Read it again.
Deuteronomy 28 and 36.
Deuteronomy 28 and 36. Read.
The Lord shall bring thee.
The Lord shall bring us. The Lord bring Juan Diego. Continue reading.
And thy king.
A king of ours. King of the Aztecs. Juan Diego. Continue reading.
Which thou shalt set over thee.
They set this man to be king over them. Lineage of kings. Continue reading.
Unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
So they bring us into these people, these Spaniards, Cortez, all these people. Man, we never knew these people. We never seen a white man before in our entire life in Mexico. Continue reading.
And there shalt thou serve other gods.
And then they caused us to serve other gods. The Spaniards caused us to leave who we understood was our God and come and worship their gods.
A little bit more.
Continue reading.
Wood and stone.
And wood and stone. And you know that the images today, you know, are stone and wood. You know what I'm saying? We know what that is. Continue reading.
That's the end of the verse.
And that's what it is today. So, do you got that Tonantzin? So let's find out, you know, because Juan Diego, he used to worship, you know, they worship gods. I'm going to tell you something. Our people used to worship gods. The Aztecs had gods they worship, but these gods are known as power. The word God simply means power. So this whole nonsense of us sacrificing to gods and all that, it's a little bit more of understanding that you need to get to understand how our people saw different elements of the world, of the earth, and how they knew they were powers. How they knew that, let's say, lightning was a power. So they had a god of lightning. They represented him as a snake, and this is a powerful god. They had another god they had was one of nature. They knew her as Mother Nature, a mother who gave food to everything, gave you life, gave you food out of the ground, gave you animals. So they seen her as a power. So Juan Diego had an image that he used to worship before he started worshiping the Virgin Mary. And this is why the Spaniards took advantage, because they knew that all they had to do was change the image and the rest would follow. So let me show you that image. And this right here is the image of a virgin named of the goddess named Tonantzin. This is her here. This is the image of the goddess of the Aztecs. This is the goddess known as the goddess of the mother of the earth. This is her. This is Tonantzin. And this image was important to the Aztecs. And they used to worship this woman. And they would worship her exactly on that same mount where the Virgin Mary appeared to Juan Diego.
Right.
They seen her on the Mount of Tepeyac. They had an altar for her in the Mount of Tepeyac. You have that, right?
Yeah, kind of.
So we're going to read about Tonantzin, which is what the Aztecs, the woman the Aztecs used to worship. Continue, read that.
According to tradition, once again,
the Virgin appeared to a Nahuatl man named Juan Diego in December 1531 on Tepeyac Hill. So they're talking about the Virgin Mary that appeared to Juan Diego on Tepeyac Hill. Continue reading.
North of Mexico City, where there was a shrine dedicated to the female Aztec earth deity of Tonantzin.
Read it again.
Khan, where there was a shrine.
There was a shrine right here in this place where?
In the north of Mexico City, on Tepeyac Hill.
On Tepeyac Hill. Today, the the Catholic Church on this same place where they had a shrine for this woman is the Church of Guadalupe. Continue reading.
Khan, north of Mexico City, where there was a shrine dedicated to the female Aztec earth deity Tonantzin.
So all the Aztecs used to make pilgrimage to this place every year to show homage to this woman known as Tonantzin, which is the Mother Earth, the goddess of earth, who would bless them with food and, you know, all these things, and bless them because she was what they considered the Mother of Earth. You got more?
Yeah, Khan. To this day, in Nahuatl-speaking communities, in other communities as well, the Virgin continues to be called Tonantzin.
So there's still people who call her Tonantzin, not the Virgen de Guadalupe,
right?
Not these other names. They call her Tonantzin because this is the mother. This is the goddess who gave the Aztecs earth, food, water, and all this. She was the goddess of earth. This is Tonantzin. This is who that is. So you got any more?
Khan. And Tonantzin, and her appearance is commemorated on December 12th each year.
So her appearance is commemorated every year on December 12th. So let me tell you what happened here. See, the Spaniards could not convince the Aztecs to change their ways.
Right.
So what they did was just change the image.
Right.
They continue worshiping, they continue doing everything, but what they did was change that image. Today you worship the Virgin Mary, you're really worshiping Tonantzin.
Right.
Today if you hold homage to La Virgen de Guadalupe on December 12th, you're really holding homage to Tonantzin, the goddess of the Aztecs. The only thing is that the Catholic Church has found crafty counsel and has made you worship their image instead of this other false image, right? Because it is still a false image. So they never really were able to change it completely. All they did was trick the Aztec people, the Hispanic people, to follow their ways. And you know why? Because they took money from people and they became rich off of that. But that is who Tonantzin is. That is the Mother Earth. That is the Virgin Mary. That is who that is.
It's like, if I could, one of y'all brothers get First Maccabees 3:8.
But you had something. You had something.
I had another precept for the image.
Go ahead.
This is First Maccabees chapter 3 verse 48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. Salakia.
So they tried to paint the likeness of their images. This is the likeness of the images of the heathens.
Right.
That's who that is. The likeness of the images of the heathens. They brought these on us. The fake white Jesus, the Virgin Mary. We know now who painted this Virgin Mary. You know, we know where that image is coming from. We understand that that's really Tonantzin, the goddess of the Aztecs. You know, there's some things that you can't change. You can't change where the image appeared on the Mount of Tepeyac. You can't change that right there was exactly where they had the altar for Tonantzin. You know, all the Aztecs would go there and worship this image of Tonantzin there. You just can't change that. What is changed is your mentality.
Right.
Where now you've been forced to believe something that's not true.
Right.
Where now you've been brainwashed, and even though you're worshiping that same goddess that the Aztecs had, but you're thinking it's a white woman.
Right.
And you'll get mad because you want it to be, because if I tell my mom, es una indígena, oh, hell no. Man, I'll get a sartén thrown at me, you know what I mean? I'll get a plancha thrown at me, you know what I'm saying? Because why? Because I'm telling my mom it's an indigenous thing. And no, impossible. It's got to be Spaniard. Mom is dark as hell talking about, no, it's a Spaniard. You know, oh, your whole family dark as hell, and you're mad because you don't want that Virgin Mary to be brown. you want her to be as white as possible.
Right.
You know what I mean? You want her to be, you'll paint her white. You know, my mom don't go buy dark images, dark statues. Even San Martin de Porres is, well, he's like in a corner, like hidden, you know what I'm saying? Because he's black. San Martin de Porres is black. You know, and San Martin de Porres like way in the back. Like, Mom, why you have the black guy in the back, you know? You got the three kings, you know, the Reyes Magos, the three kings, and the black dude's always way in the back. You know, they got the white guys in the front, but the black guy's always in the back. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, our people don't want, they just don't want the truth. You know what I'm saying? They abhor the truth. That's what it is. But, you know, there's a lot of black images of San Martin de Porres, you know, and these, but hell no, you know. It got to be the white guy. It's got to be the white saint, or it's just not right. You know what I mean? So it's ridiculous, you know. But that's why we're here. We're here to break the chain and let you know that, you know what? This is the truth, right? Inconvenient, but this is the truth. Go ahead, Oscar Warren.
Got a precept, sir?
Go ahead.
Romans 12:2. And be not conformed to this world.
And be not conformed to this world, man. You know, we can't let these things take in us. We can't be part of this. We can't be okay with what's happening. Continue.
But be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
And be ye transformed by the renewing of our mind. Man, let us transform ourselves. Let's let go of all this ignorance, you know, and become new again. And rethink what it is, you know, and know that one, history has been written by those that conquered us. And it's time that we understand that there, you know, that history is still there. We can go back and bring it out and the truth on what's in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you got any more?
Okay,
go ahead.
If I could, you know, we weren't even supposed to be worshiping Tonantzin in the first place. And that's the reason, like the brother brought out, you know, it's in Deuteronomy, it's in the curses, what's going to happen to us if we do make these graven images and worship them. Right. You know what I'm saying? The only reason that the Lord allowed them to come over here and conquer us the way they did was because we were already worshiping graven images.
Right. And let me tell you something. Because we were worshiping graven images, because we fell into this, because we're worshiping this Virgin Mary, like Kasharwan said, you know, that's why Latin America is in the position that we're in.
Right.
That's why our children are in the detention centers. That's why Latin America is falling apart.
Right.
That's why Mexico has a war, an internal war against themselves. You know, Mexicans killing Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? Central Americans killing Central Americans. Why? Because we've let go of who we really are. We've decided to worship our enemy and hold hands with our enemy. And our enemy has found a way to destroy us. You know what I'm saying? And we're being destroyed within our own selves. Here on the streets of LA, blacks killing Mexicans, Mexicans killing Mexicans, blacks killing blacks. You know what I mean? Because we're destroying each other. Why? Because we've decided to follow our enemy, worshiping these images that he made up, following these traditions that he made up, following these stories that he has conjured up in order to destroy us. Subtle ways that he's made that have come against us. And you know what? We've fallen for it. Throughout history, we've fallen for it. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Salaki, if I could, and you know, before the drug epidemic, blacks and Mexicans used to stick together.
Right.
They used to go get together to go up against the Navy sailors that were coming and hating on us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The history's out there. You just got to do your research. You can't just believe everything this white man tells you or what everybody makes it seem like, man. You got to dig into your history.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
A lot of people don't know that. You know, we haven't touched on it, and we'll probably get a class on it. But, you know, in the 50s, in the 40s and the 50s, blacks and Hispanics, man, we'd have what you know as party crews today. We used to have the same thing. We'd have neighborhoods, and we'd go to different neighborhoods to go to, you know, backyard, because they didn't have clubs, backyard parties, you know, and back then, we didn't have no problem hanging out with each other.
Right.
You know, when the Zoot Suit riots, like Kasharwan's pointing out, when the Zoot Suit riots, they weren't only doing that to Mexicans, they were doing to the blacks and the Hispanics.
Right.
The Puerto Ricans and the blacks were hanging out together out in New York and those places in the jazz clubs because they understood each other. You know what I mean? Today, we have a beef with each other when the beef should be with those that have found ways to destroy us. Go ahead.
Slag, if I could real quick, divide and conquer, that crafty counsel.
Right, divide and conquer. That's what it's all about. And today, it's so evil that now we're dividing and conquering ourselves.
Right.
You know, the Mexican is dividing himself from the Latin American people, from El Salvador, Guatemala, and those places, and we're finding that we're destroying each other on this. You know what I mean? Instead, the purpose is to wake our people up, that we might come back into recognition and understand who we are, and put ourselves in a position where we begin to help each other come out of this situation that we're in, and wake up to the truth, and keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord. Because you know what? That's the only way that we're going to get out of the condition that we're in, by keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, and coming back to the Lord. You know what I mean? And we have a common enemy, and this common enemy has destroyed us, and it's time that we come together, for we can understand our history and understand our cultures and understand that we are one brothers, man. Blacks and Hispanics, man, we love each other, man. We hang out with each other. We do the same things. You barbecue, we barbecue. You party, we party. We're out hanging out on the porch. You know, they're out, brothers is out hanging out on the porch. You know what I mean? We stay up late, they stay up late. You know, it's all the same thing. How can we have hate for each other? And a lot of you that are on my threads, we all see it. We all see these NK, SK people spreading these rumors about Canaanites, and how they hate blacks, and that, you know, man, that's nonsense. There is no time to come up against each other, because you know what? Our time is short, and most importantly, that this thing is getting out of hand, and we have to understand that we got to come together and get a grip. You know what I'm saying? And come together as a nation. That, you know, one of the prophecies in the Bible, one of the last prophecies, is that when Israel becomes a nation again, the Lord is going to come back and take vengeance on those that have destroyed us. You know what I'm saying? So what better than starting now to come together and pushing this issue of bringing the Lord back? Because you know what? You're not going to go up against this enemy. This enemy is too powerful. He has too many weapons. He has too much going on, that we cannot ever fight him on a battlefield, because this is not our battle. It says the Lord is vengeance is of the Lord. So we have to understand that that's who's going to take vengeance. You know what I'm saying? You guys in the add that?
Yeah, if I could real quick, you know, there's a precept, right? 1 John 4:20, how it says that I don't know if you want to get it off score, but you know, like, I don't understand how brothers is trying to cause division.
Right.
You understand, between the northern and the southern kingdom. You know what I'm saying? When you know, no matter what has happened, man, the Most High wants us to come together. Right. You know what I'm saying? So how could you want forgiveness? How can you ask for mercy from the Lord if you haven't forgiven your brother? Right. You know what I'm saying? This is what that scripture is about. You got it off score?
Come. 1 John chapter 4 and verse 20. If a man say, I love God, and hated his brother, he is a liar. Right. For he that loveth not his brother whom he has seen, how can he love God whom he has not seen?
There it is. You know, I was just gonna bring that out. You know, how can you hate your brother who knows what you've gone through? You know, he lives in the same conditions. He lives in the same hoods that you do. How can you say you love him? That's like, how can you say you love the Most High who you have not seen, but yet your brother who you see every day, every week, you know what I'm saying, that is living through the same conditions that you're living through? How can you hate him? You know what I'm saying? And love the Most High who you have not, your brother you see all the time, man. You see him going through the same struggles you're going through. Right. The Most High, you never seen him. So how can you say you love the Most High?
Right, man. You know, and like we were talking about earlier, you know, these are things that we have in common, you know, the black and Hispanic and the Native American Indian. And we were talking about, you know, the gentrification of our areas. And a lot of people don't know it, but, you know, all our areas are being gentrified. You know why? Because now, if you try to rent in a nice neighborhood that we were talking about earlier, you know, it's almost impossible for you to rent in these neighborhoods. Because when you fill out that application is talking about you got to be making 3 times the amount of the rent that they're asking for. And the rent is $1,000 a room. So a 2-bedroom is running you $2,000. A 3-bedroom, $3,000 and over. And they want you to be making $9,000 of the amount of a rent. You know, who can afford a rent like that?
Right.
What Mexican, black, or Native American Indian is going to be able to rent like that? We're scattering to find rental places because the banks, the white man's banks, have taken all properties.
Right.
Even in our neighborhoods, in our prevalent black and Hispanic neighborhoods. And now when we're trying to rent them, they're making it almost impossible for you to be able to meet that criteria that they're looking for. And why? Because they're separating. They're separating who they want in their areas. Why? Because they're trying to make their areas all white. You know what I'm saying? By pushing us out of these areas, by raising rent, by making it almost impossible for you to be able to get that. And then you go and get the application and they look at you and they already know that they're not going to rent to you because you're black or you're Hispanic.
Right now, that's going on right now in Highland Park.
Highland.
Northeast LA.
Right.
Like you Google it on YouTube.
Right.
But you know, a lot of it's a Hispanic. It's mostly Hispanic people out there, and they're making videos on YouTube on how they're doing the gentrification right there in Highland Park.
Right. I checked the Highland Park, and it's incredible the price of a rental in that area. Right. When that place was a place where anybody could move in. Right. But now it's almost impossible to move into the avenues. We know them as the avenues in Highland Park. It's impossible to move in the avenues because the rent is so expensive in the avenues that no Hispanic or no black can rent in that area. And let me tell you something, blacks don't rent in Highland Park because they don't rent to blacks in Highland Park. Right. Well, I don't know why they don't do that, but they don't rent to black people in Highland Park. Highland Park, I don't think has any community of blacks in that area because they made sure that they do not bring blacks into that area. And if you look down into Boyle Heights is becoming the same thing. You try to rent in Boyle Heights now, and everything is nearly impossible to rent in Boyle Heights because it's so expensive. And you know, Ben Cueva is talking about downtown LA Phoenix. Well, downtown LA here in Los Angeles has become the same thing. You know, where we go to hold camp on Saturday and on Figueroa, man, it used to be, you know, it used to be a Mexican neighborhood out there, blacks and Hispanics there. And let me tell you something, they never tried to clean up that area when it was Mexicans. They never did they never pushed an effort to keep those streets clean or to make that neighborhood good while we were there. But now that they've moved in, the white folks, and made those condos and made those apartments there, now they make sure they got people cleaning the streets. And you know who's cleaning the streets? Blacks and Hispanics. Because I see those guys that are pushing that, cleaning the streets, and they're all Hispanic and black folks that are out there. You know what job we got? We got the job of street cleaners. We're pushing a cart and sweeping the streets throughout the whole day. That's the job we got. While you see the white man walking around in his suit and tie and going up to the buildings, but we don't get those jobs. Right. Those jobs are not pointed out for us. You had something to say?
So like I was just going to touch on the gentrification. You know,
go ahead.
When it's a minority city, you know what I'm saying, it's cheap. You know, houses are affordable. When once like it starts to get gentrified, like, you know, the prices go up by like 100,000.
Right. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
It's like I was gonna say that the reason why that's happening right now in the LA area is because of the new Coliseum.
Right. Oh yeah, the new Coliseum there. That's why they're gentrifying the area. But I mean, Highland Park doesn't have one. Right. But they're gentrifying that area, even though they don't have a stadium there, and that area has been gentrified. How about Boyle Heights? Boyle Heights they don't have a stadium there, but they're gentrifying that area too. What they're doing is pushing the black and the Hispanics out to the desert.
That's right.
Now we got to move out to what is that? Victorville and Palmdale and Lancaster. You know, into the desert areas. But you know what's going to happen when we begin to move out there and we bring those areas up there too? Then they're going to gentrify us from there. Then where are we going to be pushed to? Where are they going to push us out? Further out to the desert? You know, where is it that they're going to push us? Because they're living in these areas and pushing our people out. Go ahead, Oscar.
Precept Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
So we're cursed in the city, and the field. You know why? Because we used to work the fields, you know. We used to be out there. We had to rally in the 60s with Cesar Chavez to be treated equally, to have good pay, to have good housing, you know, to be treated like humans. You know, we had to come across the borders and get sprayed with that DDT and gasoline, you know, in the 40s and the 50s in order to come work here. They used to strip our people naked and then spray us with gasoline because they wanted us to be, you know, no diseases on us, and spray DDT, a spray that was known to cause cancer. You know, they used it as to kill bugs and stuff like that. But they'd spray us with these things. While we were naked, they'd put all these Mexicans in one single room and strip everybody naked. What kind of animal would do that to people? You know what I'm saying? That's like coming against our manhood. I couldn't stand there naked in front of a bunch of men. You know what I'm saying? That just doesn't work. But they would do that to destroy us. You know what I mean? To make us feel meaningless, to make us feel like nothing. These are your grandparents, your great grandparents that I'm talking about. These are the ones that came to America before your parents made it to America, your grandparents. They had to be stripped naked in front of everybody. What kind of homosexual would do that to people? You know what I'm saying? That's a degrading, you know what I mean? And today, they're still finding ways to degrade us. They put us into neighborhoods where they know that, you know what, we're living there, we're forcefully living there, you know, and we can't move into their neighborhoods because they make it impossible for you to be able to meet the criteria to rent a decent location. Go ahead.
Got another precept, if I could. Deuteronomy 28:65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease.
And amongst these nations we find no ease. Let me tell you something. If you move to Chinatown, the Chinaman is looking at you like you need to go back to your country. If you move into a white neighborhood, the black man is looked at. You know, I've heard stories of black people that try to move into white communities and they become a problem in those communities. The police come by, you know, when they have their families over, they're having issues. And I know a brother that works with me and lives in one of these white communities, and he tells me what an issue he has when it comes time for their holidays. How, you know, hey man, black folks and Mexican folks, we like to hang out outside. You know, we don't like to be inside the house. We like to be outside the house. Our kids like to play outside. Well, man, he's had issues because the white neighbors, they just don't want to see his kids out on the street. They don't want to see his kids riding the bike. Man, I used to ride my bike on my block growing up. That was the thing. But now you can't even do that. Why? Because your white neighbor is complaining that you're out there. You know, not because you're out there, but because you're black and you're out there. Because you're Mexican and you're out there. Because you're speaking Spanish in this country. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem right there. And let me tell you something. White people forgot how they acquired this country.
Right.
What they did to get a hold of this country.
Right.
They quickly have forgotten that they robbed, raped, and murdered and destroyed my people to come into possession of this country. You know what I'm saying? And under that treaty, what is it? The treaty that
Treaty of Guadalupe
the
Hidalgo.
Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, the Treaty of Guadalupe. It's a treaty that was written that said that we had the right to be citizens. We had the right to a good education. We had the right to property. We had the right to, you know, to live correctly. And you know what? They broke that treaty.
Right.
They destroyed that treaty when they hung my people on the trees.
That's right.
They destroyed that treaty when they took the property of my people. They destroyed that treaty when my brothers and sisters had to do the walkout in the 60s because they were not getting a fair education. Right. We had the right to speak our language in this country. And that treaty has been broken because now we can't even speak our own language here without being criticized by devils. You know what I mean? Right. So in reality, they void and null that treaty, and this is still Mexico. You know what I'm saying? Because they broke the treaty. So what is it? If you keep the law, then that law has been broken. This is back to the Mexican people that should be here originally. The native Indian, the Mexican, and you know what? The black brothers who live here too. Go ahead, Oscar Warren.
I got another precept for what you said, sir. It's in Ezekiel 35:5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel.
And they've had a perpetual hatred and have shed the blood of our people. You know what I'm saying? Continue.
By the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. So like, I wanted to touch on something.
Go ahead.
Also, too, I was gonna touch in on. That's why they do these things to us when we live in their neighborhoods, because they're murderers. They have continual hatred towards us, towards Hispanics, towards blacks, Native Indians. So they can't live in the ghetto with us.
Right.
They can't. They're not civilized people. They live with us, and they don't like seeing people outside having a good time. You understand? Eating food.
Right.
And, the children's laughing and playing. They like the Genesis 25 and 25 says, when Esau and Jacob were in the womb, it was two different manner of people.
Right.
So we're different and they're different, and that's why they can't live like we live. They love where we live because our culture,
right.
The environment, the atmosphere that we create wherever we move. They love that. They love our culture, but they don't stand us because they have envy towards us. They can't stand the fact that we're just, no matter where we are, we're those people. Like, man, those people are great.
Right. Kabata Moth made a point. We're loud. We're loud people. We like to be loud. We like to be open. We like to be, those people that know how to party. We like to have a good time. They envy us because we're like that. They wish they were like that. And then they try to steal our culture. They try to dance like us. They try to look like us. They try to do our thing. But they hate us as people. Right. Go ahead.
I was going to add to what the brother was saying. It's super heavy. And you know what I'm saying? And they don't like us being around, and they let it be known.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The cops pull you over when we in Beverly Hills or in a nice white area, because they want you to know that you're not wanted here. Right. They want to make it plain and simple. Like you cannot come around here because people around here don't want you here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's true. They don't want us around, and they hate us because of how we are and who we are. We're a culture of people that, we enlighten everything. Like, if you go to a white party, it's dead, and there's always that one black brother that's, man, getting down. You know what I'm saying? That just knows how to do it, and then everybody's looking at him like, ooh, man, he's getting down. Right. Hey, they don't say we get down for nothing. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Oscar Warren.
I lost my train. I lost what I was going to say.
All good. So, so we got to understand that they violated these treaties. They violated our rights. They violated everything that we stand for. And now they have us living in a condition where, where we have issues, trying to rent, trying to get a location, trying to find somewhere to live. Why? Because they're destroying our neighborhoods through gentrification. You know what I mean? We're finding ourselves having to leave these areas that we used to live in because they're renovating them. These banks these banks are robbers. They have taken properties from people. What happened to what was that? St. Louis? No. What was that?
Chicago?
No. The place that got flooded.
New
Orleans. What happened to New Orleans? New Orleans, they flooded all the black communities and forced everybody out of those black communities. Today, if you look at those communities, man, they're beautiful communities with beautiful houses, renovated and all nice. But none of the people that own those properties are there today. They've been moved out, and they're now, most of those people that were caught up in that flood ended up living on the streets. And I know because I have a brother of mine that I went to school with, and his mom lived in New Orleans, and she was caught up in that flood. And what happened to my brother Tony is that his mom ended up living in a hotel, and FEMA paid for hotel for a little while. They gave her some money, but they didn't give her what that property was worth. Right. And when they gave her that money, they didn't tell her she was going to lose her property. They just made it seem like they were going to help her with some money. But then it came out that she lost that property through the money that they gave her. So what they did is paid her for that property and then took it from her. And today she does no longer own her home in New Orleans. Now she rents, because the money they gave her was not enough to buy another house anywhere. Right. So she ended up having to rent a place, and now she rents a place because they took a property that was not only hers, but it was her mother's property that was given down to her, and she ended up losing it. She's just one instant of the many people who lived in New Orleans that happened to. And when you see those homeless people downtown LA, or those homeless people living under the bridge, you have to understand that was a whole thousands of people who had to flee areas that were destroyed by natural disasters that they probably caused themselves, and then took those properties from them. And now these people find themselves living on the streets of LA, streets of Chicago, streets of San Francisco. And when you look at them, you're thinking, oh, he was a drug addict, you know, that's why he's living in the street, because he's a drug addict. Let me tell you something. If I lost everything and I had nothing, I'd become a drug addict too. Thank the Most High for the ISUPK.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? That has pulled brothers and sisters out of becoming drug addicts or out of losing it completely, and has bring them into this truth to get a new start in a country that has robbed, raped, and murdered us to this day. You had something?
Oh yeah, I have an article right here.
Go ahead.
That goes into gentrification.
Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? If I could, the relationship of growth of the relationship of the growth of Chicago to the rise of its land values in 1830 to 1933 that ranked various races and nationalities by order of desirability.
Right, by order of desirability. That word right there, desirability. So who desires them? Who's the one making the choice that you're desirable? Who's the one that makes the choice that you're fit to live in this community or not? Because desirability has nothing to do with an application. Desirability right. Just means that they're looking at you and you're either somebody that's desirable or is not.
Right.
So who's been given that position of who makes the choice of whether you're desirable or not? Go ahead.
Most desired were the old American stock of Anglo-Saxons and Northern Europeans.
So the most desirable are Anglo-Saxons and Europeans, not blacks, not Hispanics, not Native American Indians. Go ahead.
English, Germans, Scots, Irish, and Scandinavians, followed by Northern Italians. I can't say that word. Czechoslovakians, Polish, Lithuanians, Greeks, Russian Jews of the lower class, South Italians, and the bottom of the list, Negroes and Mexicans.
The bottom of the list, Negroes and Mexicans. So everybody else, Lithuanians, Russians, Polish, right. These are all Edomites.
Right.
So Edomites look after Edomites. They don't look after blacks or Hispanics or Native American Indians. That's not who they're looking after. They look after themselves. The problem with us is that we're looking after them instead right. of looking after our own people.
That's right.
We're undesirables. You know what does the Bible says about that? Go ahead.
This is Zephaniah 2:1. Gather yourselves together.
Gather yourselves together. Continue.
Yeah, gather together, O nation not desired.
We're the undesirable ones. We're the ones on this list that this article is talking about that are not desired. We ain't gonna get that rental that you're looking for. We're not gonna get that business that you're looking for. You're the one that's gonna be red flagged when you go and try to sign up for some job. That's because why? Because this is not for you. You're an undesirable. You are not, if you're black, Hispanic, Native American, Indian, know that you're second thought. Like when they look at you, the minute you walk through that door, they already know that they're kind of looking at you like, maybe you'll be a dishwasher, right? Maybe if you dress up like the white man, maybe if you got that real nice haircut, and wear that suit and tie, you know what I'm saying? Maybe if you try to act like him, you might get that job. But then when they see your last name, they understand what position you're about to get. Go ahead, Oscar Warren.
Precept for what you just said, sir.
Go ahead.
Deuteronomy 28:44. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him.
Okay, go ahead.
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
You see, they're the head and we're the tail. He'll lend, he won't lend to you. You'll lend to him, but he will never lend to you.
Right.
You'll be like, oh man, oh poor white guy, I'm gonna lend him some money,
Right.
But he'll never lend you money. You'll be like, oh man, your brother's trying to get a job, and this is white boy trying to get a job. You'll be like, hey bro, I'll help you. I'm gonna help you out. Poor guy. But you'll never look at your brother and be like, oh, I'll help you out first. You know what I'm saying? They'll always be like that.
It's
You got any more?
A score?
Come on, sir. Verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high.
The strangers that are get in there, man, they'll get there before you will. They'll get that supervisor position before you get that supervisor position. They'll become managers before you become a manager. They'll open up a business before you open up a business. Man, the Asian comes here with no English, and he has businesses everywhere. And you can't get a stereo shop open. You know what I'm saying? Or you can't get a clothing shop open. Or you can't get a boutique open. Or you can't get a hair place open. Why? Because they get it before you get it. With no English, they give them the permits and the licenses, and you get nothing. Continue.
And thou shalt come down very low.
And we always come down low, man. You know what we end up doing? We end up getting on drugs. We end up smoking weed. We end up being like, well, you know what? Screw it, man. I can't do anything anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. You know what I mean? Continue reading.
Moreover, all these... Oh, Salagi. It goes back to verse 44. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him.
That's what we touched on, man. You're going to lend to them, but they'll never lend to you. You know what I'm saying? The Asian, you go over there to his store, and it's 5 cents that you're short. He will not let you walk out of there with that 5 cents.
Right.
He'll be like, oh, hell no, you owe me a nickel.
Right.
Oh, you don't have enough? Well, put it back.
Right.
Go put it back. Go come back when you got that nickel.
Damn right.
You know what I'm saying? They'll never let you walk out with that. They'll see you walk in and you're trying to get a 40 and you're, a couple of cents short. They'll be like, no, you ain't got enough. Oh, well, too bad. And then when you walk out, they'll say something between their lips.
Right.
Goddamn drunk, or crackhead, or they'll say something about you. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the way they see us. You got an article?
Salaki, I was just gonna touch on what you said earlier about the how we're willing to lend to the white man. Like if you see a Mexican or Hispanic or a black under a bridge, asking for money, you don't feel bad for him.
Right.
You don't wonder what he's been through, in his life to make him be under that bridge.
Right.
But if you see a white man, you feel sorry for him and you shoot him some money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When no white man should be under a bridge, or no white man should be anywhere asking for money, because when they came over here, they got broken off.
Right.
They got their inheritance. And if you see a white man poor today, it's because he smoked his inheritance away, or he drank his inheritance away.
Right.
He threw it away some way or another.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And blacks and Hispanics and Native American Indians, we're born into debt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was just gonna bring that out.
And you know what? It's true, because you know what? Let me tell you something. From experience, sometimes you own a business, right? But you don't become part of the Chamber of Commerce, or you don't want to deal with the police department if you own like a club. You don't want to deal with the police department. You don't want to deal with the Chamber of Commerce, and you get red flagged. Oh, this person is not part of the Chamber of Commerce. This person is not part of the Better Business Bureau. You don't do no contributions to the police department. You ain't trying to deal with the police department because you own a nightclub. You're not trying to deal with the police department. And all of a sudden you find yourself with those checkpoints right at the corner of your club. You find yourself the police coming into your club regularly because, oh, we're checking for IDs.
Right.
You find the police department coming into your club regularly because, oh, we're looking for drug dealers. The fire department's regularly coming over, checking your exits, making sure that they're unblocked. You're getting these tickets continually. Why? Because, your club is violating this. You get ATF checking to make sure that your liquor bottles are on point, that you don't got no 4-liter bottles in there, and that you're buying your liquor legally. You know what I mean? You get IRS checking to make sure that you're not doing no fraud. You get targeted because why? Because you don't want to have no part of the police department. You know, you don't want to deal with giving what is that? What did they used to do to us? That they used to have the annual police what is that? Fund, like donation, you know, for their parties. That's what it was.
Right, Con.
Go ahead.
And I was gonna say, and then if you donate a certain amount of money, they give you this get out of jail free card.
Exactly. They give you a plaque. You get this plaque. Oh, thanks for the donation. But when you decided, you know what, I'm not going to donate to your police department.
Right.
Because even if I donate to the police department, you guys are putting those goddamn checkpoints right at the corner of where the spot is at. You know what I'm saying? So how am I going to donate to the police department when you're still, you know, harassing me in one way or another? They may not do it directly, but with what they're doing, it's like a harassment. So when you decide not to deal with when you have a club and you decide not to deal with the police department, not to deal with the Chamber of Commerce, the outcome of that is the closure of your club.
Right.
They find a way to close you down. You know what I'm saying? And you know what they used to close your club down? They used eminent domain. They decided, well, you know what? We're going to turn your property into a school because it's needed in your area.
Right.
So what do? They close your club down and they make a school, a worthless school. That, you know, you got plenty of schools in the area. You didn't need another school. But what it really was the taking of the property. And you know why? Because you're Hispanic.
Right.
Because you're a Mexican, a family that owns a club. Because right down the street, there's Asians that own a club. And those Asians are still there to this day. They never got closed down. But why? Because they do their donations to the police department. They do their donations to the Better Business Bureau. They donate their money to the annual police ball. You know what I'm saying? And since you don't do that, you're the one that's targeted to closing. Because you know what? They want you out of their neighborhood. And that's what happens to Mexican clubs. If you're not, it's a mafia. And if you're not joining them, then you're against them. You know what I'm saying? But why? Because you're Hispanic. You know what I'm saying? And that's why that happens to us. You had something?
Yeah, if I could real quick, when you were touching up on the Moabites, you know, the Asians, when they come to America, they change their names willingly and they get an American name.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They willingly do that because they know they don't want to be in the same position we're in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
They play that game, you know what I mean? But what happens with black and Hispanics, we don't want to play that game. We don't want to be part of that. We've been through too much to become part of that. You know what I mean?
Go ahead. It's like if I could, because it's not in our nature to be submissive.
Right.
It is in Moabites, the Asians' nature to be submissive because they're supposed to be submissive to us. Right. We're supposed to be over these other nations, but instead we on the bottom. You understand? You know what I'm saying? The reason why we fight back and we're so-called rebels is because that's not in our nature to be under anybody. You know what I'm saying? Other than Christ.
Right.
You know, we're not supposed to be under any other nation.
And let me tell you something. Even when you abide by the rules, Adan Gomez, Shalom Yahweh, Tabaganaz, even when we abide by the rules, those rules are broken against us.
Right.
The reason why a lot of our brothers are in the detention centers is because even though they try to abide by the rules by trying to, you know, cross and, you know, become part of the system, you know what? They still get targeted and their families are separated. A lot of those families that are in there are not people that they caught coming illegally. They're people who were trying to cross legally.
Right.
And they got caught up in that system and now they find themselves there. And that brings us to our last point here. And that is, you know, that today we see a lot of our brothers, thousands of migrant children that have been abused inside of these government custody places or inside of these detention centers. These are our kids, man. These are our children. These are the people that we count on to grow up and continue our heritage, our culture. You know, these are the people that we're looking for. And you know what's happening to these people? They're being destroyed. They're being destroyed because they're being sexually abused in these detention centers. You had something?
I was just going to read the article on CNN.
Okay, let's get into this article because this is going around right now that, you know, we knew that, we talked about it here on the Inconvenient Truth. We about a year ago, we talked about how, you know, our children were gonna be lost in the system, how they were gonna be destroyed in this system. We talked about how this was gonna be the outcome, and you know what? always in the ISUPK, we're always ahead of the time. And look, just as we said, that's exactly what's happening to our children today. Read that article.
Khan, this is on CNN article. So like the Department of Health and Human Services received more than 4,500 complaints of sexual abuse against unaccompanied minors from 2014 through 2018.
Now let me tell you something. What's that number?
4,500.
They said 4,500, but that's the number that they're giving there. Who knows how many, what that number really is?
Right.
The reason why they give the number 4,500 is because they were forced to tell a number that was higher than the previous number. What was the previous number? 1,500 or 2,500? Well, now it's moved up to 4,500. But you know what? We had said that before. We had said, you know what? That number's got to be, you know, some made-up number. That's not the true nature of that number. That number has got to be higher. Continue reading.
Khan. In addition, 1,303 complaints were reported to the Justice Department during the same time frame, according to the documents.
Right. So what you're seeing here is that some people are actually, you know, complaining, and someone's writing down these complaints, but not all the complaints. Another article says thousands of migrant children from 24 to 18 were sexually abused. Right here it's giving a number, but the real thing is that there is no number. That number is a fake number. They're just trying to, you know, throw you off by saying, well, of the thousands, it's only 4,500. But in reality, it's a lot more than that. Continue reading.
Khan. He said that the documents demonstrate over the past 3 years there have been 154 staff on unaccompanied minors. Let me repeat that. Staff on unaccompanied minors allegations of sexual assault.
So they're saying allegations of sexual assault. Let me tell you something. That word allegations means you're insinuating, but it's not. They should be saying that it's a truth, that this is really happening, but they're saying allegations. That means they're still going to go to court and fight it. There ain't no fighting it. This is a reality. These children are being abused. You know, if you don't know, where is it, in Africa? Who cares about Africa, right? But in Africa, there's tourists, white tourists, who go to Africa to have sex with children.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that is that's a problem out there, where they're going out there and doing that to African children. Imagine what they're doing to our children here at the detention centers. Hispanic girls are beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Our kids are beautiful children. You know, Latin America has beautiful people. These goddamn perverts, you imagine what they're doing to our children here, and they're getting away with it? Right. This is thousands of children that are being sexually abused by these monsters. Continue reading.
Khan. This works out in average to one sexual assault by AHS staff on unaccompanied minors per week.
Per week. This is weekly. This is not even, they're saying weekly, but really, this is every day that it's happening. You know, this is something that's, they're allegedly saying, no man, this is real. This is happening to our children in the detention centers today. You know what? That's why they did it. And you know what they're not mentioning? They're not mentioning the sale of organs and those children that are being taken and disappearing. They haven't mentioned that. But let me tell you something. That's soon to come out too. Soon you're going to hear about children that are coming out missing in these homes that they're putting them in. You know what I'm saying? Soon we're going to start hearing that they're finding children without livers, without kidneys, and that their bodies are being sold as parts.
That already came out too, sir. Like around, I think 1,500 children that were in these detention centers. The Health and Human Services, the people in there who were taking care of them, they stopped doing background checks, criminal background checks. They stopped running fingerprints. They stopped asking for birth certificates because they were overwhelmed with all the brothers and sisters there. So they just started giving these kids to anybody, and they lost track of about, they put a number out there of about like 1,500 children that they lost track of.
Right.
They didn't know where they were. They didn't know who they were with.
Khan.
You know.
Go ahead.
And sluggy. And their excuse for not keeping track of these kids was that they couldn't afford them.
Right.
They couldn't afford to keep track of them. But, you know what I'm saying? But what is Trump asking for? What did he shut the government down for? For money to what? To build a wall. Not to keep track of these children.
Right.
But, you know what I'm saying? To build a wall. And these children are being transported from the border all the way up to Chicago, man. That costs money.
Right. Khan.
You get what I'm saying?
Khan. That's right. Go ahead. Keep reading.
Khan. I am deeply concerned with documents that have been turned over by HHS that recorded high number of sexual assault on unaccompanied children in the custody of Office of Refugee and Resettlement.
Right. And let me tell you something. There's kids that they've been interviewing that they themselves say that they had sex with staff members in order to get better, to live a little better in there. You know what I'm saying? They've been having they've been having sex with staff members because, you know, that cop in there is telling them, well, you know what? I'm going to treat you a little better. And they manipulate these children in order for them to have sex with them. And they're still being in prison. They're not going, he's not saying, you know what, have sex with me and I'll set you free, even though that's still not the thing. But within the own walls, they're manipulating and playing mind games with these children. These are monsters that are holding children. You know, what the hell are you doing trying to save Venezuela? Help our children here that are being held hostage, that are being in the detention centers, that are being abused and molested and raped and murdered in these places. Because you don't even know what's really happening to these children. And then they're sending them to these homes where it's a bunch of perverts. You know what I'm saying? A bunch of child molesters. People that don't care for blacks and Hispanics and Native American Indians. They're giving them into the hands of the enemy who hates us.
It's like, if I could, like they were making it seem like Venezuela was so bad because people were eating out of trash cans.
Right.
You know, people are eating, brothers and sisters are eating out of trash cans here.
Right.
In America, in California, all over the U.S. You understand what I'm saying? And they don't do nothing about it.
Right. Khan. Go ahead, Oscar Warren.
I was going to touch on what you were saying, sir. What they're doing is they're trafficking children.
They're trafficking
Slave
children.
labor.
Exactly.
You know, what was it called? Sex slaves.
Sex slaves, exactly. Our children that are being held in these detention centers are being sexually abused. They're being destroyed. You know what I'm saying? These children are going to come out of the detention center and they're not going to be children no more. These children are going to come out mentally stained from what they're going through. Not only are they keeping them in these cages, but then they're coming out here after being abused. You know what I'm saying? Where's the childhood? How are you going to be normal again? And then they're talking about that they're murderers. Well, hell, I'd become a murderer if I was put in a situation like that. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Also, too, sir, another ridiculous reason that they made a statement about is they said that the reason why they don't want to give these children back to their parents because they said it would be too much work. They said it's not our children, so we don't have to worry about them. And the other one was the trauma that is causing them right now. For them to go back to their parents, it will cause more trauma. But in reality, they don't want to send their kids back because of the things that their children are going through.
Right.
Because they're going to go back and tell their parents, you know, well, this happened. I had to have sex with him because of this. Or, you know, I saw him get beat up and this and that.
Right.
And they're going to get exposed.
Con. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if I could, what the brother's saying is super heavy because also, where are these kids going to end up at? Right. You know what I'm saying? They're, with their mind messed up, man, they're going to either end up continuing being good slaves, right, or in prison, or you know what I'm saying, working for them, or you know what I'm saying, one way or another.
Let me tell you. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, they're gonna profit off them not returning the children to their parents. They're gonna profit off of it. Right.
You know, they got this zero tolerance system going on that Donald Trump implemented. Let me tell you something. Black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians should have zero tolerance against this happening to our brothers and sisters. Right. We should all be protesting what's happening to us. Because, come on, man, it happened to the black man, it happened to the Native American Indian man, and now it's happening to the Hispanic man. Let me tell you, they were able to break up the family structure of the black man. They were able to break up the family structure of the Native American Indian. And the Hispanics, you know what, we have a great family structure. We love our families. We're a kind of a people that we cling together. You know, that's why we all live together so close. We love our families. And now they're making an attempt to destroy the family value and structure of the Hispanic man. If this is let go, in a couple of years, man, Mexicans will not be living together. We'll be separated just the way our black brothers and our Native American Indian brothers are today. We will not be married to one, a marriage of family value like we do today. You know what I'm saying? Like, Hispanics are so close to their families, bro. Like, we'll go live with our brother. We'll go live with our moms, our families, you know, because we know that there's love there. We're fighting a war against the value of family, of Hispanic families. And you know what, brothers and sisters, today, okay, the black man went through that. I understand. And that's why we're here in the UPK trying to bring that back. Native American Indians, they went through the same thing. And that's why we're here trying to teach that, to come back to the family value. But you know what? Now it's a war against the Hispanic. And they're trying to destroy the structure of the family in the Hispanic community. And you know what? We cannot stand around and allow this to happen. Because if it happens, then that's just the black, the Hispanic, and the Native American Indian that's completely destroyed. And you know what? We can't allow that to happen. This is something that we got to cherish. And that is to understand that we know how to keep family together. And these monsters cannot go around trying to do that and end it like this. You know what I'm saying? So this thing that's happening to our brothers and sisters in the detention center, man, it's a war on Latin America. There's already a war out there. But now the war has come into the family values here in America today. And that's why we got to understand that it's imperative that we speak on this continually. It's imperative that we bring this out all the time. And that we let them understand that we will not have it. You know what I'm saying? That we will not let this happen to us. That it's imperative that we speak up. You know what? Our words are our weapon. And the Bible's our sword, like I had mentioned. And it's time that we come out here and we put it to use. And we bring it out because you know what? We need to let everybody know that this is important. This is an important subject. We should be talking about this continually, all the time. Because if we let it go, then we let go of the family structure of the Hispanic people. And you know what? That's not left no more. You know what I mean? That's something that's a rare breed. You know what I'm saying? We take it for granted, but we shouldn't take it for granted. We should understand that this is something worth fighting for and something worth teaching our brothers and sisters, the black and the Native American Indian, that we have to once again, you know, bring that value back and learn how to have a family structure. And don't let your woman put you on child support. You know what I mean? Because that's what they want. You know what I'm saying? And don't let the people separate us and put us into these detention centers or into these, where the Native American Indians live, the reservations. You know, we have to come out of that. And how are we going to do it? Coming back to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. How are we going to do that? Starting to praise the Lord, you know, that He brings us out of this condition. And that he helps us in coming into the ISUPK, the home of the truth. You know what I'm saying? We're here, we're going to teach our brothers and sisters how to once again become, you know, the Lord's children. How to become Israel once again. Go ahead, Oscar Warren.
Precept, sir.
Go ahead.
Deuteronomy 28:1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Man, we have to diligently hearken unto the voice of the Lord, man. We gotta hearken, listen to the voice of the Most High. Continue reading.
To observe and to do all His commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations.
And that's what we want. We want the Lord to set us on high above all these nations. You know what? Put us in control of all this, because once we get into control, there will be no more deaths of our children. There will be no more separation of the families. There will be no more of this child molestation, or no more. We won't hear about allegations or living on reservations or being poor. We will not allow that for the black or the Hispanic or the Native American Indian. Continue reading.
God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth,
And all these blessings shall come upon thee, and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So we got to hearken unto the voice of the Lord and come back to the law, statutes, and commandments and become a nation once again. Go ahead.
So like if I could, Proverbs 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice.
So we're the righteous, and people will rejoice once we come into a power. Right. And we teach people how to run a nation correctly. How we will not, take people for granted. How we will not do these things that this nation has done to our people. Continue reading.
But when the wicked beareth rule,
when the who?
When the wicked beareth rule,
America rules and they're wicked. Read.
The people mourn.
And man, that's why we're in mourning today. That's why our children are being raped and molested. That's why our countries are being destroyed. That's why we live in poverty, because a nation that's wicked rules over us. Man, no matter who you vote for, you're going to vote for wicked people that don't give a damn about black, Hispanics, or Native American Indians. There's never been a real black president. There's never been a real Mexican president. There's never been a Native American Indian president. But yet we fought in all their wars.
Right.
We saved this country. We've made this country what it is. We've built an empire. Man, we fund this country daily. And yet we live in poverty. We've been here 500 years and over. And yet the Asian man has gotten over us and owns all these properties. The Armenian comes here with no English and drives BMWs and sets their neighborhoods above our neighborhoods. They have homes that look 10 times better than the ghetto host, the house that you live in. They're able to get all these permits to open all these dispensaries, these weed houses, all run by whites and Armenians. They have it all under control. And yet we've been here 500 years and we have not been able to surface over all these people. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because a wicked nation rules over us, man. And they care not about us. The more we are destroyed, the happier they are. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Today we're seeing our children in the detention centers being sexually abused, destroyed. And you know what? Let me tell you something. Most of these children that are put into these homes, if they do survive, they're going to forget who they are. They're going to come out thinking they're white. They're going to come out cherishing America. They're going to be like, oh, this white family helped me. They didn't help you. They separated from your family, put you in this place, and now you're honoring them for helping you. They destroyed you to begin with. And that's what's happened to black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians throughout history. They destroyed us, and then it makes it seem like they're helping us. They've never helped us. All they've done is prolong our destruction. Go ahead, Oscar Ward.
I was going to touch up on that too, sir. What they're going to do, they're going to do the same thing that they did to our brothers, the so-called African Americans, which is I forget what it's called. When you love the people who enslaved you.
Go ahead.
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome.
That's what they're going to do to those brothers and sisters in there.
That's what's going to happen to our children. They're going to be plagued with that Stockholm syndrome. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're going to be plagued with. For us, man, here in the ISUPK, in the truth, we're going to spread this truth throughout all of our people, all across America, all across the nations. We're going to wake up black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. That's our job to do here.
Right.
That's what the Lord has appointed us to do in this time of trouble. In this time, in this age, He's woken up certain people. What is that precept? 1 John, you did not choose me, I chose you. He's chosen us to come out here and do this job. Man, forget all this nonsense that you're hearing on the internet. Nothing is worth it. Nothing is worth taking your vision off of what's meant to be done. And that's save your people. You had something?
I have a precept.
Go ahead.
This is Psalms 9:9. The Most High also would be a refuge for the oppressed. A refuge in times of trouble.
So this is our time of trouble. Blacks are being killed on the street. Native American Indians are taking their land that has been taken from them. The little land they have is being taken from them too. Hispanics, we find ourselves on the borders and we find ourselves not knowing when you're going to get picked up or when they're going to look at you and say, you know what? You can no longer be an American citizen. We're going to deport you. We can no longer be those people. We live in fear of everything. You don't know when the next police officer is going to pull you over because you have a broken tail light. And he's going to pull you out of the car at gunpoint. And then he's going to beat you and say that you were resisting arrest. And then he's going to incarcerate you for a broken tail light. Go ahead.
Another precept. Isaiah 42:22 is touching on how it's prophesied that we will be in a situation like being in our kids being in the situation that they are.
Go ahead.
Isaiah 42:22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled.
We're robbed and spoiled. We're those people, man. Not the Asian, not the Armenian, not the white man. We're those people. Read.
They are all of them snared in holes.
We're all snared in. We're all snared in trouble, man. We all find in these places where we just keep running into the same situation. Continue reading.
And they are hid in prison houses.
And let me tell you something. Blacks and Hispanics, we're all in these prison houses. And you know what? We get out and we end up going right back to these places. Most of your brothers and sisters, they're better off inside than outside. Continue reading.
They are for a prey.
Man, we're their prey. They're the hunters and we're the prey. We're the game they look for. They no longer go hunting animals because we're the prey that they're looking for now. They want to see us because they like to see the expression of our faces when we get pulled over and beat. That's their prize right there. You got any more on that?
Come on, sir. And none delivereth for a spoil, and none saith restore.
Let me tell you something. We'll never be restored, man. And no one's there to save us. All these people, all these Martin Luther Kings, they have not done nothing for us but destroy us and put us deeper into this hole. Go ahead.
Got another precept?
Go ahead.
Jeremiah 50:33. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together.
And man, you know it, black man. You know it, Hispanic man. We're oppressed together, man. We're living in the ghettos together. We got those second-hand jobs together. Man, we're getting pulled over and treated the same way, exactly alike. When they see a black and Hispanics in cars, you know that they're like, oh, that car has black and Hispanics? Oh, that's 2 for 1 right there. We just came up. So we're oppressed together, man. No matter where in America you are, if you're black or Hispanic, man, you can't rent and I can't rent. Not in the places we want, because you know what? We're oppressed together in this country. Continue reading.
And all that took them captives held them fast.
And you know what? They took us captive, man. They took you captive. The Spaniard took me, the English took you captive. The Spanish took me captive. The Portuguese took my brothers in South America captive. And the people from France and them came into Mexico and took all of our people. We've all been taken by the same devils that came and destroyed you, came and destroyed me. Continue reading.
They refused to let them go.
And let me tell you something. They will not let us go. When you go to your prison and try to get your brother out, your brother's going to do life for selling a 20 sack of weed because he got the 3 strikes law and now he's a criminal. While the Armenian man is selling pounds and he ain't got no problem. He's not going to jail. He's not losing his license. He's not getting red flagged when he goes get a job and they say, oh, you sold drugs? You got a drug bid? You got a bid in, for drugs and you did a stretch? Oh, what kind of drugs did you sell? They don't ask you what kind of drugs did you sell. They just say you sold drugs. Even though it was a 20 ounce of weed that you had, it's to them it's a drug. You were destroying people. You're a murderer. You know who the real murderers are? Those that incarcerate us. Right. Those are the real murderers. Those are the ones destroying. You know who the real murderers are? Those that are holding our children in these detention centers and sexually abusing them. That's who the murderers are. You know who the murderers are? Those that are at the sacred lands of the native Indian and spraying them with cold water, you know, in the middle of the night because they want them off that land to run that pipeline. That's who the real murderers are. Us, we're the black, the Hispanic, and Native American Indian. We're the children of the Lord. We're the ones that are having a hard time here in America, just trying to survive. That's who we are. You had another one?
Con, sir, if I could.
Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people,
Right.
and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long.
So let me tell you something. Our people are given away to another people, just the way the book of Deuteronomy says. Our children that are being held in these detention centers are being separated from their families and then given to people who they don't know. They're being sold to the highest bidder. And those people are taking our children and abusing them. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? Those families that lost their children, those moms and dads who no longer see their kids, their eyes fail for longing. Just the way my black brothers did when they were brought to America in the transatlantic slave trade, and their children were sold off to other white men. Just the way our children were, our Native American Indian children were taken and put into those boarding schools and separated from their families, their haircut, their language taken, their clothing taken, their culture stripped of their culture, just the way they were. That's the way we all are. If we ain't Israel, then who is? If we're not those people, then who are those people? The Jewish man never went through that. The white man never went through that. The Africans have never gone through that. Only Judah and Israel have gone through that. We've been those people and still are those people going through these things. You know what I'm saying? You got any more?
I got another precept, sir.
Okay, let me get the brother Ephraim. Go ahead, Ephraim.
Shalom Khan. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind man gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled even more, and no man shall save thee.
And let me tell you something, no man saves us, and we're oppressed, and we go out throughout the day and the night, and you know what? We don't find our way, man. It's like impossible. We live this nightmare every single day. From work to home to pay a goddamn rent. And if you got a car, you got lucky. And if you got a house, you got lucky. But you ain't away from that slavery, man. You still just barely making it. You know what I'm saying? You even if you have all these luxuries, you're still going to go out on the street and wonder when you're going to get pulled over. That hasn't been taken from you. You're still going to struggle to get yourself together because that hasn't been taken. We're still living those times. Got any more?
Come on. I got another one, sir.
Go ahead.
Psalms of 106, verse 42. Their enemies also oppress them.
Our enemies oppress us, man. That's a fact. We're oppressed by the enemy here in America. Continue.
Come on. And they were brought into subjection under their hand.
And let me tell you something. We're brought unto subjection, man. When that cop pulls you over and humiliates you, that's subjection under that hand. That's what that is. You can't forget, man, that, you know what, let me tell you something. This is for every single black man. When that cop pulls you over and you see those red lights in your rear view mirror, man, that fear comes into you because you don't know what the hell's about to happen to you. Most Mexicans, we deal with, we're like, oh, well, I'm about to get hugged. I'm about to go to jail. I'm about to get caught up. Oh, well, man, you know, it is what it is. But we also know that we ain't going to get away clean. We're going to get a ticket. You know what? That's all you need now. You got to pay your rent. You got to pay your bills. You got to pay all these things. And now on top of all that, now you got a goddamn ticket to pay. Now you got a day to go to court. Now you got to go meet this man. And when you get to that court and you look around, it's all black and Hispanics in there doing the same thing you're doing. Paying the goddamn debt that cop made you go and pay. For what? For a tail light. Let me tell you something. If you don't understand the system, you better understand it. They got two books inside their bag. One book is a warning book, and the other book is a financial ticket book. They could easily give you a warning. Hey, yeah, you got a busted tail light. Let me give you a warning. Zip, here you go. Go ahead and take care of that. And you don't have to go to court. But you know what they do? they give you a ticket. They make you pay for that. They can always give you a warning and let you off with a warning. But the system is not made for Black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians.
Right.
The system is made for them, not for you. You ain't never getting a warning. You ain't never seen that warning book. The reason I know about it, because when I get pulled over, hey, you know what? I'll take a warning, but I won't take a financial ticket today. And then when they tell me, well, I got to give you a ticket, brother, you can give me a warning. And I'll take a warning, but I will not sign for a ticket. I'm not signing for tickets today. And you know what? I've gotten away with it plenty of times. That's how I knew about the warning, because they've given me that warning. And you know what? Sometimes for us, they don't give you warnings. They'll give you the goddamn ticket. A financial responsibility that then you got to go pay. And then the judge makes it seem like he's doing you a favor. Well, I'm going to drop this charge, and all you got to do is pay this charge. And I'll even go ahead and cut that charge in half. But then you got to pay court fees, and you're ending up paying $500-600 in court fees because you had to go to court because this, and they catch you for that. They might. He tells you in the court, he tells you, well, all you got to do is pay $75. And then you get to the ticket booth, and it's $350, $400. You know what? He told me $75. Yeah, but you got court fees. You got this and this and this. And you're like, well, what the hell? He didn't tell me all that. You know what I'm saying? So they get you one way or another. You're a slave in America to a system that hates you. You got any more? Okay, go ahead, Oscar Ward. And let's get the last ones in because it's almost time to go.
I got... Okay. Deuteronomy 28 and 41. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters.
We shall have sons and daughters, and they'll put them in the detention centers. Continue reading.
But thou shalt not enjoy them.
And we don't even enjoy our kids. You know why? Because of a system that destroys us. Continue reading.
For they shall go into captivity.
And our children are in captivity to this day. The Bible is the future history of what's going to happen to us. Written a long time ago and going into play right now as we speak. Continue reading.
Sorry, I got another precept, sir.
Go ahead.
That was the end of that.
All right, go ahead.
Deuteronomy 28 and 23. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron.
And let me tell you something. We live in these detention centers. That's where our children live. Let me tell you something. Black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians live in detention centers, reservations, and the prison system, and on the streets. Those are our homes right there. If you Black or Hispanic or Native American Indian, that's where you're living. You ain't living in luxury. The streets is where you live in a tent. The detention centers is where your children are being kept. The reservations is where your family ended up. And in the prisons is where your brothers and your sisters have found their home. That's where we live. And you know what? It's time we wake up to the reality that we can no longer be these people. It's time to wake up to the reality that we soldiers, we warriors, our ancestors were warriors. Our ancestors were soldiers. They fought, you know what? The same system that destroys us today. Right. And it's time that we understand that it's time to wake up. You're seeing all these all these kids looking like homosexuals nowadays. And why they're doing that? To destroy our culture. But you know what? Here in the ISUPK, we're gonna hold our culture tight. We're gonna uplift our people. We're gonna bring our people back to the reality of who we are. You know what? Let me tell you something. You can't be a lone soldier. It takes all of us to make this work. It takes all of us to come together and bring a nation again. There ain't never been no lone soldiers. You're either a group or you're not. You're either soldiers or you're not. You cannot go away from all of us. As a group, we're going to, you know what? Together we strong. Black, Hispanics, Native American, Indian, unstoppable as a group. Together, man, we going to make this happen. Separate, we're never going to do anything. One of the reasons a lot of the people in the detention centers are the way they are is because they keep themselves separate. Because you know what? Once you're put into a position, man, you isolate yourself. You become an individual. We ain't individuals, man. We brothers and sisters. Right. We one people. And we got to remember that out here on the streets, we got to once again become one people. Man, if you're Hispanic, if you're Hispanic, you got into a gang because you wanted to be part of a group. You wanted to be part of people. You know what I'm saying? You wanted to be, these are my people right here. If you were a black man, you were a blood or a crip because, man, those were your people. How today, as an Israelite, how are you trying to be just an individual? How are you trying to be one lone soldier? It's impossible. We are a nation, and we got to once again bring that nation together. And here in the ISUPK, that's our job, to bring our people together once again as a nation.
Right.
It's time that you man up, get yourself together, put on them black boots, put on that black clothing, and get into the ISUPK. You know what I'm saying? And become a people again. Because we're going to help everybody, man. We're going to help you get off drugs. We're going to help you get away from homosexuality. We're going to help you get away from them hoes. And we're going to get you straight. You ain't going to live in the streets in the ISUPK. You're going to come into a home. You're going to come where people care about what's happening to you. And every time you have a problem, we're going to ask you, man, how you doing, man? How's it going over there? You know, how you doing? And you know what? We're going to take care of you. One way or another, we'll find a way. You know what? The Lord will find a way. He's going to place you in the place that you least expected. And you know what? You're going to become a soldier right there. You're going to be put somewhere where you thought, oh man, how'd I end up here? And then without you realizing, you were put there for a purpose, to strengthen your spirit, to strengthen yourself, to come out a warrior. What were you before you got there? And what are you today? Today you're a man of strength, a man of honor. You've earned yourself, you know what? You've earned yourself a position in the Lord's army. And when the Lord comes back and he sees you, he's going to know the work that you put in. All the brothers and sisters are just as important in this truth. You know, we're the ISUPK. And we're here today to bring our brothers and sisters into realization that black, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, that we are one people. And that we all need to come together and raise up an army that of truth, an army of justice, an army of people that will help each other. And you know what? In every single war, there's different stages. Today we're in the stage of waking our people up with truth. Who knows what's next? But preparing yourself here prepares you for the next stage of this battle. Today we bring ourselves into truth. Man, we're going to shut this program down. It's about the end. But before we go, if there's any questions out there, has anybody got anything to say? If you got any questions, if you got any breakdown that you want to hear, if you got anything you want, you want to add or bring out, go ahead and post it up now. As always, with the ISUPK Inconvenient Truth coming out to you every Wednesday with this hardcore truth, man. You know, we're digging in, and we're going to bring out the most important subjects in Israel today. You know what I'm saying? And I want to thank everybody for jumping in and watching us and staying on this. You know what I mean? Join us every week right here. If you got any questions, if you got any comments, go ahead and post them up right now, and for we can address them. And if not, next week once again we're gonna come back right here. All the sisters who watch the show, man, Most High in Christ, we appreciate you watching our show every week and staying in touch with us. A lot of the stuff we speak is real important for Hispanics and blacks. Always, man, everything we speak, it's not for us, it's for everybody out there. These are the conversations we should bring out with brothers and sisters at work, at home. These are the conversations we should carry. We shouldn't be carrying around nonsense. You know what I'm saying? We should be carrying around conversations that edify our people. Things that today, in this time and age, where it's so prevalent, the destruction of our people, we should know that this is what's really important. These are the topics, these are the conversations that make men and women out of us. And how do we become men and women? When we begin to care for our brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes us what we are today. The Lord has chosen us, man. If you're on this show the way you guys are all the time, it's because you know what? The Lord has chosen you. The Lord has brought you up, has kept you here, because you know what? It's important to hear. And you know what? We're here all the time. All of our brothers and sisters in the ISUPK. You can check out our classes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're here every day of the week, whether it's our brothers in the East Coast, in the Midwest, in the South, right here in California, Vegas. You know, tune into all our brothers, because we're all going to teach you something that's so important to edify you and to keep you in this truth. And you know what? To give you some kind of hope that this is not just going to be, you know, going out. And for the CHAAZAQ who asked when are we going to go on YouTube Live, well, we're on YouTube now.
Right.
So, you know, I'm going to bring that out. Thanks for bringing that up. ISUPK, the Inconvenient Truth, CHAAZAQ. That's the name. If you punch in ISUPK, Inconvenient Truth, CHAAZAQ, we got that YouTube class. Man, plug into that YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Let's get that going. You know, let's use that YouTube channel. Let's bring it up. Kabata Moth says, when is World War III gonna kick off? Man, Most High in Christ tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It breaks out tomorrow. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that I posted the link to YouTube.
Okay.
And another thing is that Christ is waiting on us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? For him to come back. You know what I'm saying?
Christ is waiting on us. On point. Oscar War on point. Yahweh Shai is waiting for us. He's waiting for us to gather. He's waiting for us to do this that we're doing today, to speak out, man. We're going to start that war. You know why we're going to start a war? Because World War III is going to come against. What's going to happen first? Internal war, right?
Right.
Nation against nation, right? We're going to see that pop off first. What do we say? Racial war, a race war. That's what it is, the race war. Salakia. The race war is going to pop up first. You know, we're going to see a race war in America. And let me tell you what the race war is going to be. It's going to be whites against blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. And that race war is already here. That's why black men are getting shot on the street. That's why the Hispanics are being held in these detention centers. That's why we're being deported. That's why the Native Indian, if this war is already underway, it just hasn't gone full blown. But let me tell you something, that race war is already amongst us. You know what I mean? What happens is that we're too entertained with all this stuff going on that we forget to look in the direction of where the war is coming. Most of us are talking about, you know, Mayweather and the Gucci. And what else? All these things coming online, you know, all these YouTube stuff. Facebook stuff, the Grammys, the Super Bowls. We're too busy looking in that direction, but we're forgetting to look at the direction of where the troubles are at. Troubles are among us, you know, all day long, and they're getting heavier and heavier and heavier. But we're just not looking in that direction. If you're looking at what's happening in Venezuela right now, that's a very strong topic, because, you know, war is going to start somewhere before you even know it. It's just going to start brewing, and it's going to escalate. World War I didn't happen in a year. It took a couple of years for it to brew. World War II didn't happen in a couple of years. It took a couple of years for it to happen. You know, Vietnam didn't just happen like that too. Once again, it took a couple of years for it to finally go full blown. And that's what we're seeing here today. Let me tell you, everybody hates America out of America. You know, the Asians hate America. Latin America hates America. The only reason that you see Latin America in cahoots with America is because they placed presidents into these places. But the people are against America. Right. The government may be with them, but the people are not. Right. And we see Mexico, a lot of the people in Mexico are not with America. And America, all it's doing is making more and more enemies with their own neighbors. So you can understand that when this thing goes full blown, man, it's going to be nation against nation. And the nations that they're talking about is right here, the white man. His nation is going to be destroyed, and we're going to come up against him. Right. So, man, I want to let... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, earlier I brought up a scripture, 1 John 4:20, but the scripture I meant to bring up was Matthew 6:15.
Oh, go ahead.
But if you forgive not men their trespass, neither will your Father forgive your trespass.
Okay, so, you know, when we're talking about, you know, how right now Northern Kingdom, and I see all this nonsense, Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom, and the hate against calling our Judite brothers Canaanites. So how are you going to forgive your brother when, how's the Lord, how are you going to meet the Lord and hate your brother?
Right.
Bottom line, how are you going to face the Lord and hate your brother? I'm going to thank everybody. So we're going to bring this to an end. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Kabata Moth. Today I got Officer Kasharwan here with me. And I got Ashkawar, Officer Ashkawar here. And I got, what was that?
Young man.
The young man, Ephraim here with me today. I think, who is that? CHAAZAQ is here with us today too. And we got Lahab here today. So we're all here in class today. We're bringing out this class every week. We're here. We ask everybody to join us weekly here. Once again, I want to thank everybody for joining the class. That was our class today. We touched on a lot of important subjects. Make sure you join us next week. Keep in mind, every week we're here. The Inconvenient Truth. Like it says, what, am I your enemy because I tell you the truth, right? So no, I'm not your enemy, man. I'm here because we want to bring our people together. With that, we're going to say shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahshai to everybody who joined us today. See you next week once again. Tune in. We'll see you soon. The water for joining in the class. Once again, go into the ISUPK, our YouTube channel, which is the Inconvenient Truth. Inconvenient Truth. CHAAZAQ Yad, and you'll be able to log on to our YouTube channel. Hey, go into the YouTube channel and subscribe. I'm trying to get the subscribers in there, so subscribe onto YouTube, because pretty soon we're going to be pushing the class to the YouTube channel, because I get a lot of interruptions on the Facebook. Imperative that you jump onto that YouTube channel. Once again, Shalom Israel.
Shalom.